At 8:45, 45 minutes late-ish. We're starting after the show with Frank. Let's pull on Kevin. Kevin's in there too, at least audio only, as we get the covers going. What up, Kev?
What up?
What up? All right, let me get this overlay and these banners, all this fancy stuff. There we are. Awesome. Zach will be joining us shortly. Zach is potentially getting all unicorny. I don't know. His video's off, but he's been sporting some new gear lately. Ah, there he is. Zachary. Zachary without audio.
Totally not muted anymore. What's up, guys?
What up?
What up, guys?
How's it going?
Yeah, word up.
My nice slow start today. I literally woke up like 3 minutes before I was supposed to bring this live, and I hadn't eaten dinner or anything, so it actually worked out good that other stuff was happening. So
nice. I'm a little bummed you're not wearing your pink unicorn shirt though. I thought we'd kick it off with the.
It still has has size. It has sizing in it, so like it's really fucking itchy to wear right now. So
you gotta wash it, and then how do you shrink stuff? You put in a super hot dryer load, I think, right? Isn't that how stuff shrinks? I think cotton, whatever.
Laundry to know that. I put all my clothes in with some soap and press start. That's what I know about laundry.
Yeah, then there's separate colors and all these other.
Yeah, cold water.
I think it's cold water sets colors, and then hot water makes them bleed. I think that's a thing.
You want to come down here and wash my shirt for me?
Nope. Sure don't.
Then I'm gonna put it in there and pull it out and see what happens. Really, to be honest. That's about it's the most I can do.
Get a hand wash, one of those hand wash things. Put it in the put in the tub with a little.
Other people want to see.
There we go.
Wonderful this shirt is.
This is Zach prepping to do mini golf with a group of other magical unicorns.
The rest of the costume here too. Well, part of the rest of the costume, but it's in this bag, so it's not very exciting yet. Yeah, it was actually kind of funny. Like as soon as the show ended yesterday, when we were talking about it, like then Lucinda walked in and was like, "It's here." So it was pretty weird.
Nice.
But, she's actually like in costume in my living room right now. It's kind of funny. I like my life, dude, in certain ways. You know, like I really appreciate having like Lucinda around because she's like very playful with the way that she like treats herself, and I really it's nice to have that. You want can you see here? Here's Lucinda, and
hey Lucinda, nice.
It's got nice little wings.
Nice.
Yeah, she's got a light up cape that goes with it too, and
nice.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
We're at this point in time, like we've bought so much shit, we're gonna have to do like other things too.
Other activities.
Yeah, like going and playing mini golf is gonna cost like $40, and we're going in like $250. We're fucking prepped, dude. Like we're so prepped. So
make it a regular activity, or you can all go down in your costumes and create signs or something like unicorns. I don't know what's a sign you could create that's like a legit thing. People who no longer want to be people but want to live out their lives as unicorns or something, and just start conversations with people.
I feel like
you can go
a lot of ways with that. You know what I mean? You could go the sandwich board doomsayer way with that, where you're like, okay, so I was talking to a guy that I spent time with in Peru today, and like the first part of our conversation was all like heavy and about all this like super serious stuff, and then we like started getting like just talking about funny shit, and I was talking about what we were gonna do. And he's like, let me stop you for a second. You mean to tell me that it's the apocalypse and you're playing fucking mini golf? And I'm like, that's pretty true. Yeah, basically. Like, why not, dude? Like, I don't know, man. Awesome. If you really think the world's gonna end tomorrow, you might as well be a fucking unicorn today.
Well, what you said last night, man, about just incorporating FUN into every situation, like that's a enjoying the moment, fucking laughing, fucking all that, like that's good shit, man. Like I resonate with that stuff. Like
I have a big belief that we like do this thing of like putting everything we want actually one step away, and at some point in time it has to cross that threshold of being one step away to like it's actually right here now. And I've worked with people that fucking make $1 a year and $1 million a year. And both of them have blockaded themselves by the fact that, like, they won't let themselves have fun right now. They got different reasons, completely different reasons. You know? But like, you really got to take it upon yourself to be like, well, what the fuck do I want my life to be? And then do that, you know? Like, I don't know.
Well, then, and like integrating that mixture of like, because what's the other dynamic Jordan Peterson talks about and other people, it's like you're delaying certain things now, delaying instant gratification on some level now, so you can actually relax and enjoy it later. But there's where it gets taken too far, like the American dream. You spend your whole life working for what, so you can retire in an age where you can't enjoy it, and you spend all this time away from your family, away from your kids, just to have this dream eventually. So that's obviously way out of balance. But
later
then there's another dynamic.
Tendency of turning into never. That's one of like my favorite quotes. Stay motivated. Like,
say it again.
Later has a curious tendency of turning into never.
Yeah.
So, it's really easy to be like, yeah, I'll do that later. And then the next time it comes, you're like, yeah, I'll do that later. And the next time again. And next thing you know, you're like, well, fuck, I was going to do that 5 years ago. Like literally 5 years ago, I wanted to go and, you know, sit on the north rim of the Grand Canyon on like a nice little dose of mushrooms. And I still have never fucking done that. Like that actually doesn't cost anything if you do it at the right time of year. It literally costs nothing. You just drive into the north rim and no one will ask you for any money or any kind of pass or anything like that.
Well, and also being able to be impulsive in a positive way. Like a lot of times, a lot of fun ideas are in the moment. They really are. Like if you act on that unicorn thing, I mean, it may have, like, if you guys didn't act on it, it's a funny idea, but like the time passes and it just kind of loses its momentum, or the group doing that or whatever. So it's being able to act on things that are in the moment. And they don't have to be big things. They can be small things, but like go do fun shit or something, acting out in the moment instead of putting it off or letting it go.
Yeah, like I don't remember who I might have been talking to you, Aaron, about this, but you remember like when you were younger, you didn't like make this plan of all this stuff that was going to be fun for the day. Like you woke up and then your buddy came by and asked you if you wanted to go ride bikes. You're like, fuck it. And so you start riding bikes and one thing leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, to a day that you remember for the rest of your life. Like you'll never forget it. But it was never like, oh, I'm planning all this fucking shit out. I got it all organized, neat little trip here. Here's the fucking itinerary. Like who the fuck does that fun like that? That's not fun. That's scheduled. You know what I mean? It's basically work. So yeah, it's being impulsive. I think we lose that a lot. You know, like we look for this security and we try to find it in basically like structure and shit. And we throw away the impulsivity with that, and it can get real boring, man. There's like a lot of really good shit about living your life in ways that are like responsible, and you're taking care of your family and the people that you care. There's so much great shit in that, you know. But like, there's also a lot to be said for being impulsive, having fun, doing shit for absolutely no reason at all. I realized at a certain point in time that like I had to have a reason to do something, and in that I had become boring. Yeah.
Well, if the reason, so like even think about fun. I mean, there's fun like. There's fun for the sake of fun. There's also fun for the sake of connecting with other people, having fun. I mean, when you're having fun with other people, that's where the organic laughter or jokes or things happen, when you just put yourself in an engagement to have fun or create fun in an environment, really. To draw fun out of other people. Like that's fun.
Yeah. It's I think it might be like the most important thing. It's my perception at this point in time.
I mean, shit, last night's conversation was a bunch of gobbledygook and fucking shenanigans, and it was fucking awesome. Time flew, and we were laughing like pretty much the whole damn time. The whole time. $30,000 to like blowing shit up, to fucking unicorns, to whatever. Scratching, mixing.
Yeah. There's so much cool shit on the planet. Like our perception is so strong, you know, like if we focus on certain, you know, one spectrum of life, we can feel like life basically entirely turned into that. But objectively speaking, life can be so fun if you allow it to be. But it can be pretty easy to restrict yourself from doing that as well. So I argue against it. So I tried it out. It sucks. So I tried it out for you guys. You know, if you want to take my word for it, don't take anybody else's word for it without your own discernment. But if you want to take my word for it, don't fucking do it. It sucks. It sucks, man. Like I don't know, man. I used to have so much fun as a fucking kid, and it's crazy how like even like you can not even notice it go away. You know,
I think about that shit. Like when was that moment that fucking whatever happened
Yeah.
Like you woke up the next day and shit just wasn't like that, like
Yeah.
it was. Going playing flashlight tag at night and shit, like that
Right.
kind of like.
When were you like, nah, I don't want to do that
Yeah.
anymore? You know what I mean? Like, when did that happen?
Yeah.
And maybe even more importantly, when is it going to stop happening? You know? When are you going to be like, nah, fuck it. You know what? I play flashlight tag again, and now I dress up like a clown while I do it because you know what? I'm older and I have resources.
You go to jail, dude. There's fucking issues with. I mean, you know, clowns.
They ain't gonna keep you in jail. That
You
ain't
got a
illegal.
bad rap lately, bro.
That ain't illegal. You know what I mean? So they might take you down to the station, but when you're like, dude, I'm a sober adult playing flashlight tag dressed up as a clown, man. Can you show me in the legislation where that's illegal? They're gonna be like, yeah, no, we can't. This is weird, but you understand why we brought you down here, right? You're like, yeah, I understand, but I need to go back to playing tag, dude. They're never gonna find me here. You know, like this is not fair. Okay, like I got in a cop car and went back down to the station. Like they're looking in bushes and shit. Like it's never gonna work.
Do you remember like in Living Color, Homie the Clown, like fucking Damon Wayans?
Dude, like I dressed up as Homie the Clown for Halloween that I was probably too old to be dressing up for Halloween and going trick-or-treating. What age is that, you ask? It's the age where people start going, aren't you a little bit old to be trick-or-treating instead of just giving you fucking candy? You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to have this conversation. I dressed up as a fucking clown so I could give free candy, not have this conversation.
This year, you could do on Halloween in your unicorn costumes. You guys could go house to house, make a live video out of it. Because I think it's a Saturday night.
Hot right now, you know, with the
current. Yeah, you were talking about that last. Well, actually, filming the miniature golf challenge, whatever it is, but however long the battery lasts.
Yeah. Well, even just doing. I mean, the phone, like that should last. I think the phones are pretty good. When I've done film for long, like when I did that thing through the Chaz, we did that for what, an hour and a half, 2 hours.
I mean, if I get crafty with it, I can just like, we got many phones, you know what I mean? So like, I'll start on my phone. If it's about to die, I'll just join Jen into the stream and then do hers instead. And then if hers dies,
totally.
I'll get
It'll never end.
You just keep using new phones, man. This is the future. We got endless phones.
Yeah.
Who needs batteries? I got another cell phone. It's kind of funny. I don't have batteries, but I got other cell phones.
What if you did something like that? So it's like you're going house to house, or I know it's Corona, people are weird about that, but if you've got full-blown costumes and you got masks on, whatever, and you make some way to make fun of it, just make people laugh or give them a good time. These adults go around in unicorn costumes. We could just stream this shit. I don't know. That'd be funny. That'd be fun for Halloween. No spiritual show, no weird thing. It's just going around unicorn costumes doing.
What if you had like
door to door
lion's mane mushrooms or something that you were giving out as the unicorn? Like not anything. Obviously, you don't want to get your shit in like real.
Well, unicorns don't do drugs. Didn't you read the rules that Willow sent?
Me, man. In my area, it's mandatory, man. They twist the arms in my neck of the woods. You know what I'm saying?
California is a very liberal state, so unicorns can either do or not do drugs here.
Well,
but they have to wear a mask and the bar closes.
You saying the bar closes at 8?
I said 10, but it's the same basic idea. You know what I mean? Like, it's considered like the most liberal state in the country, and then during a situation like this, it has like the most dramatic rules of probably any state. It's pretty funny. Yeah. The guy I was talking to earlier, he's from Canada, and he does like had no idea where I was right now. And he's like, I fucking feel bad for anybody that's in California right now. I'm like, yeah, dude, I've been in LA literally since the restrictions came down. Like I got a front row seat. I'm loving it. You know?
Yeah, I'm right in Seattle, man. It's right in the heat of it. It's an interesting dynamic. It really is. I mean, the whole thing at first, everybody's rejecting and stuff. The new normal is they're pushing that dynamic. The reality is anything that goes on over time becomes adjusted to our neurology. So whether you want to or not, buy into the propaganda, like that's something that is going to happen over time. So there has become
you got way more used to being at your house than you were before. You know what I mean? Never mind what the news says or any other kind of agenda. You're way more used to doing things the way that you didn't do before, and that's going to change the way that you do things moving forward. It's inevitable. Happens with literally everything.
Establishing new habit patterns and new ways people go out or interact or at home.
Fucking God, we can do that, because otherwise there's like a point in my life, many different ones, where I was a shithead and I wouldn't have been able to stop. You know what I mean? If we couldn't do that, you wouldn't be able to stop anything you didn't, want to be doing. And I think we've all probably found something in our life that we're like, yeah, I should fucking stop doing that. You know what I mean? Like, we make some fucking stupid decisions sometimes. That's all I say. Like, it seems like a good idea. in the moment, then it's not.
Everything serves a purpose. There's some reason you choose to get in some kind of habit pattern or whatever. Everything serves a purpose, but purposes, last for a time in a season. And then
Yeah, we
habit
were
patterns
talking
need to
about
change.
recently, Aaron, on a phone call or something about how like sometimes like being the perfect person for you, like right now, that doesn't mean that that's always going to be like the perfect person for you. You know who you really are. It's a malleable figure, no?
I think life necessitates it. I don't know if life would allow anyone to stay in the same spot. I mean, you can make the same choices, but you can't really ultimately stay in the same spot. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you're on a
changes.
fucking rock that's like hurtling through space, right? Like you're not actually staying in the same spot. Yeah.
Yep.
You're
That's
really
always
not
true.
like, on a functional fucking level. That's definitely not happening. So
Yeah.
I like
Kevin,
this.
Kevin, what is that? Is that a tape measure?
No,
He's measuring how far we've moved since the podcast started.
Well done, sir.
It's the yardstick to make sure my speakers were perfectly 3 feet apart, and then also from the speaker to my ears to make sure that they're pointed correctly at the right angles and all that shit. Like I'm nerding the fuck out like with my shit,
Awesome.
like making sure it's right. Yeah,
That's not audiophilic behavior at all. Not at all.
like
autophilic.
Have you ever heard Harry Mack freestyle, Kevin?
no, like and I still haven't showered or changed clothes since last night's show. This is still this faux show shirt.
Same shirt. LOL.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah. Very, very frequently. This is the same
Like
shirt.
I've been enjoying the process. Like, this time around. Like, and then what you said last night really kind of it stuck with me about having FUN. 3-letter word starts with F. Like, so I've been taking breaks this go round before when I, over the summer, like I would just push and push and push and then fry my fucking ears out. And what sounded good then, I'd actually like get some rest, come back to it a couple of days later, and it would sound like ass.
Yeah, like what was I thinking?
Like, so
every
this
time
time
I've ever made, it was like that. When I make, I'm like, this is a banger, and then like 3 days later, I'm like, I don't really know about that.
The worst shit ever. Like, oh my god, like shit is like that shit kills me. So this time I'm like, yo, let me just do it right. And then the other thing that I had an issue with was using reference tracks because I don't like having influences coming into the flow state and my psyche. Because my ears are how I fucking do everything, right? So, I mean, I've literally heard songs on the radio and then got home, written the fucking riff in my head, but had channeled it from and I'm like, that's just the shit. And then it's like STP or something that I fucking, this is back in the day when I was like learning everything. So I've learned to not be affected in that way by it. So I'm using, quality reference tracks now, so you can A/B where your shit sits against them, and like I'm crushing it. Like it's actually better than, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna do something, you better do it better than the ones who came before you. At least in the way I see it.
Yeah, I think it's
or at least
good
have fun while you're doing it.
If you can't, exactly that too. Also, and if you can't, then fucking quit. I don't know.
Or just keep trying, you know what I mean? Like,
well,
maybe it's like a goal.
That's where that shit turns into 5 years. Like you were saying, I was going to make an album about 5 years ago, but
right,
perfectionism gets the best of me, and I just fucking lock myself away.
I was going to say, do you find a difference between like coming back to your music and then the stuff that's totally on point from the way that it actually sounds? I can tell all the things are in line, the math, the sounds, the beats, all that's great. And so you like it for that reason. But then other songs, like there may be little things off here or there, but you really like the song. Like it was fun to make. There's an energy to it. You love that song.
There's one thing that I've been working with. There's a couple tracks that I have here. It's the dual basses. Like I have a bass line that's going that is not an underneath 808. But I have to sit it on top and not
top end bass
and not let it share tone or frequency with the sub. You know what I mean? So I have to put it in its own space so it doesn't. And then you got the kick on top of that shares, the give push and pull of that stuff. So like that's been really challenging, but it's been fun. Like it's been frustrating to learn in a fun way. Like. Whereas a couple years ago, I'd have pulled my fucking hair out and be like, like and not have even pushed myself to have that kind of thing going on. But now I know like to shelf off one so it sits here, have the kick sit here, then have the 808, which is really like, I mean, that's what you're moving your chest, that chest pounding, that it just fills everything out. That those are coming to, and I mean, what I'm doing is bringing all the tracks to within a few decibels of each other. And I have certain like songs that I am using as reference tracks to align them with like the feeling I got from that song back in the day. Cause I'm using Tribe Called Quest as reference tracks, like from those albums in '93, that kind of stuff. So there are moods, and it's not one genre. You know what I mean? It's a culmination of sounds and experiences. Yeah, it's
shit.
It's like, cool. It's. I mean, and I haven't even gotten to the D&B stuff yet either. So I'm just literally letting that stuff come to the surface, and if it wants to, like, yes, I want to be a part of this, then I'll let it roll through. But like right now, there was a certain track list that I had, set aside that was specifically, I got to get this out over to Frank in the finished set, like finished for him to put his sauce on it. And then when I get it back, a little quick, maybe limiting or something like that. And then that'll be that. We'll set the LUFS for streaming, see whatever the fucking platform is, and that's a wrap, Jack. You know what I mean? And get it out there. But there's all these other trickle down things, like there's like 4 or 5 D&B tunes that could attach themselves to this release as well. You know what I'm saying? And like they're like really good. So I'll pull them up while I'm kind of just taking a step back from this track list, just to kind of see how it's to verify that what I fucking was putting together was actually correct. Like, cause I have to
keep. This isn't trash, right? Let me listen to it again. This isn't trash, right?
I literally have to do that like a few times. Like all right, I shared this with a couple people, but it's there was a sample I found, right? And the day I was working on the track list, like it kept calling me calling me. It was just in my head. And I was like, uh-oh.
It didn't even have the graciousness to pay for the
Hello. Fine. Fuck it. Load up an empty track and let's see what happens. And it literally became this huge fucking hefty, like big D&B, like that it lends itself to like a nice flow and also singing vocals on top of it. Like it could be that, like it has the presence and the ability to be a big, like a single. And I was like, holy shit. So I did all this stuff and I'm like, do I even want to drop a chorus in the motherfucker? Like this is just one like phrase so far. You know what I'm saying? So I was just like, no. Let's fucking Command S that shit and I'll shut it down and fucking play the fucking odds, and I'll open it up later and make sure that what I was doing was legit and not just some fucking Eeyore fucking melding us whatever sounds that sound like ass a few days later. So I played that shit back and I was like, wow, that shit goes together. Like, so I wasn't lying to myself. So that's good. That's a good thing. Good. Yeah, that's really good things. Like to where in the past, like, because I would push myself without taking proper breaks, after 20 minutes, take the headphones off, turn all music off. And if you got to meditate or just sit in silence, whatever you got to do to get your shit back on point, do that. Like for real, do that. And that's with anything. But like for me, I would just keep pushing. And in truth, like what it wound up doing is wearing me thin. And then I'd fucking have to go pass out for a week or something like that. And then like, play some songs. And then I'm like, that sucks. Let me fucking start it up again. Like, so
turning into a work instead of like a hobby or fun.
So speaking of master music making, we've also got Arya Starr waiting to come on the show.
Yeah. Are you ready? Are you?
Yeah.
Oh,
Hey.
there she is.
Eating
She'll ever
pumpkin
be because
seeds.
she's already here. Hi, Arya. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
I'm
Can you hear me?
outstanding.
Excellent.
I was trying to create a transition to bring in the show, and I said, speaking of master music making, but I don't know if you have anything to do with music. Yeah.
Do you play any music
I
or
mean,
anything like that, Arya?
I recently played around with a 3D printed native flute.
3D
Cool.
printed. That's native to the future.
Yeah, right.
In the
No
future,
doubt.
all flutes will be 3D printed.
So what is this flute? Like, where did you come across this flute?
Oh, my friend made it on their 3D printer.
Cool.
He's
Out of
selling
plastic
these,
or
all
resins or?
sorts of shit. So I'm just like, hey.
Make
It
a
doesn't
heart
actually
in that
sound good.
organ, start reproducing your organs and stuff and putting them, charging them up,
Like
getting them
Blade
ready.
Yeah, I mean, artificial heart can't be very far away from being 3D printed, right? Like, I mean, we have all the schematics for it and shit, and that's been like a long time.
It's more, yeah, they've already doing organs and stuff. They've been doing it for years with 3D actual flesh printing dynamic. There's a bunch of, documentaries, YouTube, Discovery Channel's been on there.
We're able to 3D print organs, like people will like lay off the organ harvesting thing. Like, why would you harvest an organ if you could print one on your computer?
Exactly.
Do you think it would be like the GMO versus organic debate, though?
Oh shit!
Like
They're
people
like, oh no, I want non-GMO kidney. Sorry. Nope, no, that 3D printed bullshit. They're like, well, it works better and it costs half as much. They're like, nope, I need one from a guy.
It'd be
athletic.
It'd be a GGO, genetically grown organs.
Yeah,
You gotta have it on your card, your license.
more
Have
likely,
GGOs.
That would be
Yeah.
cool. You remember like Fifth Element, where she takes like the little pellet and she's like, opens up the little microwave thing, puts it in, and she's like, chicken good.
Chicken.
Gets it, then opens it up against this huge turkey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we'll probably have something like that at some point in time. I mean, like, I know it'll be slower at first, but where you just like grow the organ, right? I think actually we've already kind of dabbled with some of this shit.
Like, I've seen somebody make a like 3D printed Lamborghini or some shit, and you literally can't tell the fucking difference between like the $4 million car and like a 3D printed one. I mean, unless you're like up in close, you know what I mean? Then you can see like that kind of shit. But like,
I wonder. That's probably just the shell, I imagine, because they do the houses, 3D printed house. I just saw. I mean, I've seen articles on that for years. I saw another one recently, and they're really. I mean, it's like 10 grand or something or less. Like you can get a house, but they print the house. But then they leave room at different layers for electricians to come into electrical or to put the windows in or whatever. But the majority of the framework, I mean, all that stuff is printed into place. It's incredibly economical and functional. It's a great way to do that.
Yeah. I hope we get to, I mean, I gotta know it'll happen in our lifetime, but we get to a point where like part of our basically like government and societal resources are put towards just creating like super low cost housing like that we basically just like give away to people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If somebody manages it or whatever, so we're not like having people destroy it and shit. But like, and part of it, like that's like not just on the government to provide that, but also the society to use it right. You know what I mean?
Well, a lot of it, I've seen a lot of people do that in community, doing a community dynamic. So people like sign up to be a part of this community or get this free housing. But part of that is you participating, being able to be there on certain days, like participating in building the house the ways that you can. Or I don't know how they lay that all out, but you're personally invested in this home, this community, the people you're coming in. Because it's, I think part of the dynamic of just giving people housing.
Like that, the more you end up kind of like putting up walls that you don't intend. Like, I think it's a good idea that the guy takes part in it. But like if the dude's like a disabled veteran that has no fucking legs,
totally.
They got blown up by a landmine. Like, I don't need him to come over and help build the house. Let's just hook him up.
Yeah.
I mean? Like the fact that having legs blown off is good enough, bud. Like,
or having some kind of personal involvement in the process, personal preferences, or the people actually in the home, like some kind of connection. So I just know the idea is good. I know that they do a lot of free housing in Seattle. I do boilers at buildings that are brand new buildings. Within 2 years, you think that that building had been there for like 30. They're just beaten up and poorly taken care of, and
wow,
they're just not taken care of, and it sucks because there's not.
Man. Really, like people don't take care of their shit. I've noticed that like over my life. My mom was like a huge stickler for like, if you're gonna get it, we'll buy you this thing, but you better fucking take care of it. You know what I mean?
Exactly what I was talking about last night, like me taking care of the decks and cleaning them up, and the CVJs for like they're all smoky and fucking dirt and all kinds of shit. I'm like, God damn.
From 25 years ago, if you took care of them, they sound like the day you fucking bought them.
Exactly.
Right now, and there's some people who like, I always saw this with shoes, right? Like I would get a pair of shoes and then I'd have it for like the next like 5.5 years, and it still looked like perfect. And I had
Still
these other
do.
friends that were fucking buying like $150 pair of shoes, and then like 2 months later, their fucking shoes are scuffed as shit. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what do you do with these things? You know what I mean? Like, I
Fair
wear my
enough.
shoes as well. How are you doing this to these? This is crazy. These
Let's see.
drag them through
My
gravel.
fresh Adidas, like my fresh uppies, fucking. They say
Yeah, it looks like it just came out the box.
I literally just got them. There's the first pair of shoes I
It
bought in
just came out
5
of the
years. First pair I bought in 5 years.
Yeah, I actually need a pair of like tennis shoes or something right now. I have like the only shoes I have house slippers and hiking boots. That's what I got. I got no in between. You know what I mean? Like, there's an awful lot of situations in your life that call for something in between a house slipper and a fucking hiking boot. Like you can get away with just having the middle, but just having those, you're like almost always missing something.
What about you, Arya? How many pairs of shoes do you own? What kind of
You
shoe
don't
person
wanna
are you?
Arya's got all my
But-
in between shoes, like all of
I
them.
can't count that high.
So they're probably all in pretty
That's
good
how
shape
Jen
then.
used to be, man. The first time I ever showed up to Jen's house and like saw what was her closet, which was actually a whole bedroom, I was like,
Hello.
this is amazing. You know, like I was at a point in time in my life where I probably lived the last like 5 years with maybe like 7 pairs of clothes total, you know? And I walked in here, I'm like, wow, you actually have like your whole closet and then these other racks and then this thing over here too. And like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Like, this is more clothes than I've had in the last decade.
Yeah, the other night, what was that? I think I purged 30 pairs of shoes from the closet, and they're not my shoes. I just actually they're out here in the what do you call it, storage area. Like I literally threw them in trash bags and threw them out.
Shit. So you
That
got
shit was ridiculous. I'm like, wow.
I got into doing that too, man. Like Leavenworth, especially like they have a like a thrift store there where like a community cupboard, people come and like donate their shit. 9 times out of 10, you can buy a pair of shoes that look like it's basically never been worn before in there, and it's like $3. I literally like I got a pair of high tops in there that I literally wore like living in the desert and in my car and shit for the next like 3 years, and then still wore them like 2 years after that. I bought them for like $2.50. You know, like, and they were like nice, they were comfortable, they were light, everything was
Awesome.
great about it. They matched all my shit. Like it was like this is what I would have bought if I went to the store, but it was only $2. You know what I mean? They were perfect. Yeah. It's like somebody got them once and they're like, they got them to go to Leavenworth, and then they were like, oh no, fuck sneakers, dude. Like these, no cross trainers, I ain't doing those anymore in my life. I'm taking these down, I'm donating them. Works for me, dude. So I live by LA now. They might even do that more here. Maybe. I don't know. Leavenworth had the benefit that like it has a lot of outdoor activities, and then it was close to Seattle. And you get people from Seattle who are like, I'm gonna get into outdoor activities. And then by the time that they come to Leavenworth and actually get into an outdoor activity, sometimes that is the last outdoor activity they get into. They're done. You know? Like you can get yourself fucking outdoor trouble in Leavenworth if you do it at the wrong time of year or you are an idiot. Either one of those, you know.
What's the main outdoor activity in Leavenworth? Probably the river rafting is probably one of them, right? People come out there to do river rafting.
I would say that. I mean, that one's up there for sure. You got a lot, you know what I mean? Because there's fucking mountains everywhere. So you got tons of hiking. I mean, realize like the enchantment loop that goes out of Leavenworth is, if you look at any fucking book that says like top 100 hikes in the last 20 years, it's like in the top 10 somewhere. So it's like that shit is stacked all the time. You know, you have to fucking lottery to go on the trail and all this stupid shit.
Really?
The trailhead in the summer, the trailhead is packed, and then like a mile up and down from the trailhead has cars parked alongside of the road too. And like they don't even allow that many people, just nobody fucking listens. Anyways, so
well, this is before the fucking situation, right? This is before all this crazy shit.
Actually, it's also during the situation.
Really?
In fact,
That's cool,
their tourism in that kind of regard has increased because people don't have something else to do. So if you were, I bet you like hiking boots and other kind of outdoor companies like that, they've profited off of this little pandemic situation very well, because like a lot of people who used to like do something else more city oriented for the weekend, they can't do that shit now, and all of a sudden a whole new group of people have decided to take up being an outdoorsman because it's like the only thing to do, you know. And
I gotta say, on all the different apps, like dating apps or meeting people apps or whatever, 95% are into hiking and outdoor activity. And like their pictures show them hiking. That's what they say. And there's like pictures of them hiking and doing
before
something like
the pandemic. I promise you.
Really?
Last year, I got on like one of those dating apps, and I was like, everyone wants to hike, which is fine because I love hiking. But I'm just like,
yeah. It's a little weird. Like it's like 95%. That's what you live.
Hit them up and see if they actually like to hike or if they like to go for a short walk near a mountain, because these are two completely different things.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're like, hey, cool, yeah, like, so you like to hike. You interested in going on a 3-day backpack? It's about 36 miles, and you're going to need to carry at least 50 pounds of gear. Otherwise, I'm going to have to carry your shit, and I'm not doing that because I don't know you. You interested? They're like, why would I ever do that? Well, you said you fucking like hiking. Let's go. You know what I mean? That's what hiking is.
There's some cool, there's a place up in the Princess Louisa Inlet up in Canada. Shout out to Willow up in Canada. It's on the other side. Willow's on the East Coast. It's on the West Coast, but it's where Chatterbox Falls is, which is one of the original, I think, 7 wonders of the world or something, I guess. But it goes from sea level to mountains go up 6,000 feet.
Nice.
And right off the water, right? So that they have trails in there for days. Yeah, and they've got they have beyond Malibu. So Malibu is like an actual resort that's there. It's like it's all wood, and like they promise you the best week of your life in high school. It's a camp thing. You can only go once in high school. They have waiting lists constantly.
That is a big promise, dude. We might have some false advertising on that one.
Well, your money back, right? So most people, I mean, that I ever heard, nobody ever asked for money back. And it was a cool fucking week. I did it in high school. It was an incredible week. Like, you have to break down everything that was in that. But like,
not really false advertising. That's just like a way of getting home. Like, it's going to be really sick. You know,
yeah, and the odds, like the amount of like you promise money back, right? But how many people do you get money back? Because it is that good. People are like, all right, may not be the best week of my life. I've only lived so long.
Money back guarantee. You're probably not really ever gonna have to give any money back.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's like the resort version, which everybody has fun, but farther down the inlet's beyond Malibu, and that's totally different. That's not like a resort. And when I say resort, it's not like you're just chilling. That's part of it. They have insane amounts of like group activities and like get you out of bed in the middle of the night to do like swim parties, rave party in the middle of the night, like with everyone there, totally unexpected, and you're all in the pool and like really cool shit they did this whole thing. But the Beyond Malibu is a different vibe. I mean, we're
unexpected. I feel like if they're gonna do it like a rave party, I don't need to be surprised about that. I would like to you could let me know ahead of time, and I'll be like prepared, and I'll be like in the right.
I want to know who's spinning, like who's headlining.
I want to be psyched and like tell my friends.
Part of it,
like,
no
like, oh, yeah. What? Why are you waking me up? Wait, a rave? I mean, okay.
Yeah, it's like it's this whole progression of things. Part of it, so you don't know what's coming. Like you don't know what's coming until you get there. Some things you don't know what's coming each day, and it really is just like one thing after another. It's fucking fun, man. The activities are fun. Like all sorts of like. They had this whole.
We should go to raves together then, Aaron, because trust me, when you're going to a rave, you do not know what's coming. You might think you know what's coming. You don't know what's going to happen, especially if you partake in the the treats. Then
the atmosphere.
Yeah, if you really imbibe the atmosphere.
I think one of them there was like an obstacle course that you did. I mean, everybody's covered in like mud from head to toe afterwards.
All right, waves are obstacle courses.
Dude, fucking blacklight obstacle course. It has like all kinds of cool shit. Like you have to go through like like a maze that's in a pit of chest high bubbles, and like a slime room that you have to swim through, and like all kinds of weird shit like that. But it's all like blacklight reactive and has a crazy light show going in there. And then like there's like a good system, just like fucking pumping electronic music.
There were phone parties,
play around.
Used to have phone parties and shit like that. That was awesome shit.
I've never done that, and now I want to. I can't die until I do that. No.
Does that
put in the vortex?
If it doesn't, someone needs to make it like now.
Yeah, that's me.
Like
in my philosophy, that means I need to get started on the plans for this. That's what that means in my philosophy. So. I mean, hopefully if I have it my way, and, sooner rather than later, I'll have a place where I can do all kinds of dumb shit and a bunch of other people to do it with, because hopefully I can convince people that like taking your life seriously is for the fucking birds, and let's just go have fun somewhere instead.
I'll provide the soundtrack.
Perfect, dude. You're definitely invited. Everyone's invited except the cops. We don't like you.
Let's drop duty. That's
Just being honest. I mean, we're not going to call you over. So if you don't come, we'll understand. It's easy to be in a situation where that doesn't become a problem though. If you're actually if you actually befriend your neighbors, you know, like nobody like calling the cops for dumb shit about the coolest guys in the neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to position yourself as the coolest guys in the neighborhood in the modern paradigm because most people in the neighborhood are boring.
Well, even the guys you got there when I was down there with you guys and we were playing the D&B music super loud for your trailer, that neighbor next door, I mean, he's what, like in his 60s, 70s? He's an older dude, you know, kind of like your average older dude, just kind of chill. You'd expect him to be maybe, you know, I don't know, whatever, conservative in some regard, but he didn't mind at all. Like, didn't you say, I don't know if I think we talked to him at one point, or Jen was talking to him, and he was totally fine with it. He didn't mind at all.
That's cool shit.
Hasn't called the cops on me yet, so, you know.
That's all right.
So.
Yeah. And then, so back to Beyond Malibu to finish that thing. So beyond all that was the total opposite. I mean, we're from 3 days to 10 days backpacking and hiking trips, going from, and I did it twice. We did a 6-day one, I think, and a 10-day one, and it's awesome. You go through because of where it's at, you go through every terrain there is, right? I mean, down at the ground level, then you go up walking on ridges, and then you're going up through glaciers, and you do all this.
Like Canadian coast or what?
It's on the Canadian coast, the west coast, the Princess Louisa Inlet up on in BC.
That's a lot like the Washington coast.
BC,
anyway.
Yeah.
Basically going into like rainforest almost.
Yep. Yeah, well, and it can be, and it's like a 5-hour boat trip just to get out there, ferry trips. You're out there for a while, man, and it's cool. You go up to 600 feet, I think, was the summit on one of them, and it's covered in snow and ice pack. You spend half a day on one of the days up there learning to use. You've got this ice pick thing, and your boots and everything. If you fall down the avalanche or fall down, like how do you stop yourself? You roll over on your side, you dig your pick, and you start kicking your feet to actually stop you from sliding down. But you have fun with it. I mean, they teach you how to do it, but you're on this huge body, slide, snow slide, water slide, whatever, and running, sliding down that.
The process is actually yelling arrest while you do it. Honestly,
that's right. Yeah. It's been a long time. That is part of it.
On a few glaciers, but no, like if you get trained, they'll teach you that, and when you like code this into yourself, you actually do much better at stopping yourself. It's weird, but it really it's a huge fucking difference.
I'd only expect to see like the biggest DJ names out there, like especially how far away you were saying it. Like they would have to helicopter in like fucking primo shit, like, and then for this magical like wake up type rave, like get up, surprise,
yeah,
surprise, motherfuckers,
yeah,
surprise, motherfucker.
Like it would be epic to see some big names like flown in there, but I'm sure it's not like that. But it exists in the vortex in my head now, so I'll make it so it'll like just give me a little bit of time and I'll make it.
So what's on your dating profile, Aria? Raves and hiking? Is that what you're into? Midnight raves and hiking?
Fucking whoa!
It's more like surprise me.
Nice, 2 words. Her profile says surprise me.
No one reads that shit anyways. Like.
Yeah, they really don't.
Yeah.
Apparently a lot of guys don't, for the amount of messages girls get, nonstop. It's totally different. I mean, girls get nonstop messages. I imagine have to feed through it. The surprise me makes sense, right? Send me something instead of just like, hey,
meatheads,
like say something.
Fucking
like
full force, man.
Surprises are you looking for? I'm like, they don't work like that. Block. Like it's just it weeds
what
people
type?
out.
If I was telling you what kind of surprise I was looking for, would I be surprised anymore?
Right?
Yeah.
No. No. That's cut. That's a good qualifying question.
Okay.
In a certain sense,
on that note,
what's the most? If they ask me that question, nope.
What's an intriguing, entertaining, or funny response or way someone has tried to contact you, like on a dating app or out of the blue, trying to break the ice? Nothing really comes to mind.
No, not really.
No.
People are predictable.
This
on
is
dating apps anyways. Like in real life, people are really fun, like getting to know them. But there's so much pretense and on those. I'm just whatever.
Yeah. I've seen
not into that stuff. This is fascinating to me. Like the way the fucking world has gone, like that route. Like I love hearing about that stuff.
It's so much fucking time.
You do what?
Apps.
You
so
do
I know.
what?
I know a lot of guys that use dating apps, they struggle with the no one responds to me. That's not really been my issue. I get plenty of matches, but fucking some of these people are the biggest fucking time wasters on the planet. You get people that basically want to fuck within the next 5 seconds, which isn't really what I'm looking for because how many other dudes did you do that with, right? And then you get these other people that are like, they'll fucking beat around the bush for 475,000 years and then not like ever even want to meet you. And it's like, what are you even doing here? Like, what a waste of fucking time.
Wow.
You know? It's so weird.
Well,
So-
it's funny because it's a different culture, like in the dynamic. I can understand for people in general, but even for girls too, wanting to get to know somebody, have some interest in them as a person. If you're only meeting digitally or initially meeting digitally, some kind of, there's humor connection, there's something that would make you even want to go to the effort to meet in person and feel safe too, because you're not meeting them in person out somewhere where you can kind of get their vibe. You see they've got friends, you've got friends, or just whatever. Like you kind of get to see and get a feel for them in person. You're having to get a feel for them where everybody can be putting up a front or does at some level. So there's more of that checking it out. But at the same time, it's like, dude, I feel the same way. It's like using the app to meet people like, cool, we kind of get along. Let's like hang out and actually meet in real life. Because
I'm thinking about using fucking Tinder down here, not even because I'm looking for a girlfriend, dude. Like I'm going to put it on guys and girls, and I'm literally going to put in my profile like I'm literally just trying to find the underground party scene. Like that's all I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I'm going different methodologies too. I literally sit there on fucking Twitch at night. There's live streams of fucking electronica, and I literally just randomly say in the chat like, yo, who knows where the good underground SoCal parties are, man?
Fuck, I forgot.
Eventually, somebody's gonna be like, I know where they are.
Shit.
You know what I mean? And I'm gonna be like, sweet.
That seems like a great way to bridge the gap, like trying to use the digital interaction to find physical interaction, not necessarily sexual, but actual physical, real life people and interaction.
It was a very beneficial experience. I was literally doing this last night. There's an event at Insomniac. Those, if you know raves and events, Insomniac puts on pretty decent electronica events. They're trying to do still parties during the pandemic, so they're doing this thing. Well, the first one was last night. It's called Park and Rave, right? Like you end up parking your car in like this little cage, basically, and you can only you can't go outside that cage, right? And it's fucking weak in comparison to the normal party. And I was sitting inside of this thing watching this and going like, huh, this is fucking weird. And then some guy ends up saying, and it fucking completely shifted my paradigm, and I realized I was still being lame. And so I was so thankful for it, because he's like, man, I hope I get to go to one of these before the pandemic is over, because when real parties are back, you're never going to see things like this. And I was like, holy shit, this motherfucker's right. I got to go to one of these. You're not going to see it again like this. So I have this story of like, oh yeah, but you remember, the rave season of 2020 where you had to park in your car in a little cage and only hang out with the friends that you brought? Now that was weird, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And let's face it, who the fuck actually is going to follow that rule? You're definitely talking to the people in the cages next to you. You're probably finding out where the after party is and going over there, and then no one's in a fucking cage. And I've been to a lot of motherfucking raves, my friend, a lot of them. And in most cases, the after party was better than the rave.
Yeah.
Like tenfold, dude. Also great about the after party is that when you're at like the big ass rave and there's the lights and the fucking DJ that you like is up on the stage, you ain't never going to meet that motherfucker. But sometimes if you go to the right after party, he's spinning there too, except he'll let you sit there and talk to him while he picks out records and fucking spins. And you're like, it's amazing, dude. It's the coolest fucking shit you could ever possibly experience. That's where actually like the scene really lives. The scene doesn't really live at the rave. The scene never stops raving. So of course you're going to see them at the rave, but where it really lives is not at the rave, right? It's everywhere at the rave isn't, but it's still alive. Like that's where it like really lives. And the after party is the fucking ultimate embodiment of that. And they're sick. Anybody who thinks that a fucking after party is not sick is fucking boring. Like that's all there is to it. They're sick. And
well, it's cool. It's that additional dynamic too of like, it's one thing to enjoy thing with a group in a way that you anonymously are part of the crowd. You're just one of many and enjoying the vibe and the movement. That then the more intimate connection when you have the after party.
Exactly. It's a smaller environment. You feel closer to the artist. If that headliner is at the back at the spot, and then like he's more personable and more human than at the fucking place where it had the huge system and all that shit. Like it's good stuff, man. Really good.
A bunch of the fucking time, the guy who owns the house at the after party is actually a better DJ than any of the ones that were spinning the
Yep.
He's spinning a set after the thing, and you're like, why the fuck weren't you headlining, dude? This set is sick. Those guys were fucking trash in comparison. Like, what the fuck?
Yep.
This happened to me many times at NAF Studios in Seattle. Like, people wanted to go there every time there was a fucking party there, and like I don't blame them. Like, it was all right, but sometimes the DJs that we went and saw at NAF Studios, man, fucking, I could have done without it. You know what I mean? But the after party was almost always sick as fuck.
That's
so
what's up.
that was cool. We got
Speaking
Frank.
of
He's sick as
right.
fuck. I have no overlay for this. What up, yo?
What up, Frank?
What up, guys?
Easy. I guess I'll use this thing. This is the best we got. Look at that.
There we go.
How's everybody
I made
doing?
this overlay for this. We've never had 5 people on the show, so you know.
There we have
Have we?
100
That was a 100th episode. Do we have 5?
Yeah.
Plus the Shakespeare thing, but we were all off to the side on the corner, and then the Shakespeare stuff was in the middle.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
Frank,
So
what
we're
up?
talking about after parties. This is Frank's
Talking
after
about
party.
after
Frank's
parties.
got a show.
Frank's been to some sick after parties, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Can you tell us about the sickest after party you were ever at, Frank? Just anything about
one?
it. Yeah.
Okay. This is really weird. I performed at a Playboy party, and then right at the end of our song, it started like the main section of everything, and it was like 1,000 people there. It was pretty late. I did one song, and then me and my buddy were like, man, everybody's wearing I believe it was around this time too, a couple years back, and they were wearing like robes and everything, and everyone ripped off their clothes and started fucking. Soon as the song hit like the final note, I was like, yo.
And
Whoa.
The guy on stage was like, hey, you never seen that before. And they had blow up houses in the place.
Hell
People
yeah.
were just-
These people were fucking prepared.
Oh no, it was crazy. But I didn't really want. I did not expect
I
that.
aspire to be the person who threw this party.
I know that it's Miss Lola. She's
Can
been
you
on
put me in
Playboy
contact with
for
this individual so
20
I can learn
years.
from their ways?
It was just crazy.
Well, I think
The amount of hedonism you will experience at a good after party, in my experience, it's kind of crazy. It's like it's not the same as the rest of society.
okay. Where would you, in your experience with those, Frank and Zach, anybody else, I guess, had a lot of experience with after parties, that dynamic? Do you see a dynamic where that hedonism can play out in a way that's like beneficial and good, and it's not just some kind of like raw exchange of demons between everybody and some hedonistic act?
I can't say I've seen a time where it was just a raw exchange of demons between people. It was always beneficial and had a lot of good.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's what they
Awesome.
want to be doing, dude. It's just like bacchanalia at its fullest. You know what I mean? They're just being who they want to be. You know? It's like you see this a lot with a very interesting situation. I'm sure it happens also with guys, but like I recognized it with girls, because you would have like girls, especially inside of the scene, that like on the normal day to day, they presented themselves as like really untouchable and like closed off and stuff. And then Saturday at 3 a.m. rolls around, and like you walk into a house and she's literally naked on the floor in the living room with like 5 other chicks. And you're like, okay, not anywhere near as close-minded as I thought she was. I had this one wrong. You know what I mean? And like she needs to do that. Like it balances out the other side of herself where she's like overtly restricting herself in day-to-day life. She needs to be able to have that. And it's like that's keeping her like whole, and actually like it's a very good thing. You know, it's necessary. I don't fucking shame on that shit at all. Like as far as I'm concerned, like the what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Just replace Vegas with like after parties. Like no one needs to talk about this again. Like let's just have a good time. And then this is why drugs are really good for after parties. Everyone fucking forgets what happens. So no one's ever gonna really actually talk about it.
Yeah, well, if you're not harming anybody else, also if you're not harming others, and and the intentions are fucking where they should be and not like mischievous or anything like that, then it's the way it should be actually. So I mean, whatever's whatever.
So I used to body paint, right? And I did a bunch of latex body painting at these fetish cons.
Yeah.
More that vibe of like everyone's just consenting and just like really open and chill and happy to be there and do their thing, you know?
Like the body, there's like Fantasy Fest and like the Keys, like they're big on that. Like I remember, like that was like I wanted to like experience that at one point. I'm like, I'm gonna get there, like, but you know, life happens and whatever, and now I'm recluse in the fucking bedroom, like working on tracks for this fucking thing that I'm gonna go try someday.
I'm down.
If you ever get to experience a fetish con, do it. It's fascinating.
Aaron, we gotta go interview
like everywhere. They have, like,
I will be a unicorn with a dildo on my forehead.
You won't be the only one.
I know.
Dude,
I will find my people and we will herd together.
All right, yo, I gotta tell you something funny. You just said I'll be the unicorn with the dildo on my head. So I was at one of these things and they were asking me, what should we bring to one of the parties? So I said, as a joke, and I had no clue. Oh, if everyone had my butt plugs, that would be hysterical. And I had no clue. They showed up with them, and everyone was wearing them. And then these girls that were with us got really pissed off. And I was like, no, it was a joke. I didn't mean to go do that. They were like, this is a great idea. We have purple and orange. I'm like, I didn't even know that shit existed.
Like, wait a minute. I mean, it's not a bad idea, but
wow,
it was just really funny to see. I'm like, somebody cashed in on that quick.
I am super down. The whole fetish con, like going to actual interview people. Like, what's the name of that guy? That channel? Do you like? What is it called?
All gas, no brakes.
Yeah, where he goes into tell him about that channel, because that sounds something like super fun to do for shit we want to do. We're doing the dynamics like that.
I basically just interviews people at weird places, and you know, but it's I can't really like do what he does justice. I don't think, like, if you want to check his stuff out, his channel is All Gas No Brakes on YouTube, but it's just he's just very accepting of whatever it is that they're doing, and asks like what they feel about it. And he gets a really true, authentic story out of, like, you know, who the person is and where they're at. And like, I don't know, I'm more about like being like a malleable, just like, okay, so people have a good time at a lot of places, but not everybody has a good time at all places. But if you allow yourself to be like malleable and wear the right mask for the situation, you can have a good time in all of the places that a good time's being had, right? And if you like put all of those together, there's more good times happening on the planet than one person could experience. And so really, to my mind, like, if you're not able to have a good time, it might be because you're like too rigid about who you like have to be or what exactly that looks like. You know what I mean? There's a lot of shit to do that's actually a good time. So you don't have to be something. And like, sometimes it's cool. Like Frank talks about like undressing the truth and then dressing it back up and going like, hey, look, there's the truth all dressed up again. And like, you can do that like with yourself. You just like wear a different mask. Like, well, I've never gone to parties like this. So like this Saturday night, I'm going to go to a party like that. And I'm going to like totally do that and see what it's like. And maybe you love it. Maybe you're like, I'm never doing that again. And that's fine. You know, either one is fine. But if you don't know, then you don't know. You know?
Either way.
I went to a party at Webster Hall, and it was my second time trying ecstasy. Right, so the first time it was kind of good, and then this time they were like, "No, we're gonna do 3 hits." And they were talking all this shit, and I was like in a button-down suit, shirt. And underneath, I had like a Superman T-shirt, and I had just come from something else. And then it hit me online, and it was in the middle of winter. And I remember saying to myself as I was walking through the crowd for the people that were like dancing to the dance music for ecstasy, kind of like, look at all these weirdos here, whatever. And then the music hit, and it hit me, and I put sunglasses on. I had this sock hat. I ripped my shirt off, and I just started dancing with everyone, and I was like, this is the fucking greatest day of my life. I remember just breaking through that moment.
Yeah.
And letting it go, and then I was one of the same people there, you know. It was awesome.
Funny how that like probably carried on to like the moment that you did that, some other guy that was just like you were a second ago walked by, saw you, and was like, look at all these fucking weird. You know what I mean? It's like all the places are still hell. You just shifted to another one.
That was
yeah.
so much fun,
Like,
man, to
person
be
who's
part
going,
of
like,
that.
who are all these fucking weirdos? Like, he's the dude not having fun right now. That's the guy. You know, and like, is that really what you want to assign yourself to? Like, all these other people are having a good time. So,
Oh, that's great, man.
oh man, like it really, like you end up the first ever time that I was going to dates, I was like trying to be a cool kid. You know what I mean? And I like see people there and they're like dressed up and like this kind of stuff, and like I was like, look at these fucking weirdos, just like you're saying, man. By the time I got done going to raves as a kid, dude, I'm like, I got fucking bracelets all over. I'm dressed up like fuck Godzilla or some shit. And I'm like dressed up like Godzilla, fucking high on 5 grams of fucking mushrooms, selling LSD. Like, that's like, what the fuck is going on with my life right now? But it was so much funner at that point in time. Like, you just fully embraced the shit out of it. It was incredible. You know, and like I lost that in my life for a big period of time, and like I understand why in my own life, like why I lost it, but fuck that, like I lost the wrong thing, dude. I got inflatable unicorn pants over here now because we're bringing it back.
Yeah.
I'm done with it, dude. Like that's my protest to society at this point in time. Is like, you guys are boring. I'm wearing unicorn pants. That's it.
Come the
This
unicorn.
is the way. You got to let it shine.
Yeah, exactly. Like, let your light shine. Well, I'm gonna have to let you guys know. Mine's pretty bright, but it's fucking weird. So it's fucking weird. I come up with weird shit, man, and I'm gonna do all of it probably. So
Weird is good. I prefer weird.
it's so much better than normal. Like you've seen that before, you know. TV is fucking normal these days. Like every show is the same show, you know. You know, need something new. New stuff's fun.
Hell's,
So.
I was told when the music, you can't sing along with it no more. It's time to write your own.
That's a solid statement right there. Yeah, I feel that in my life over recent times, that like, because I'm really at that point where it's like I just need to write my own music. That's like my realization, and but this relates to fun. I'm just staying in metaphor, but it's like, man, you feel like your life is boring and shit. Like, what the fuck are you really doing to make it fun? Like, you could probably put more effort into that, right? And maybe then everybody else around you could be having a better time too. And as soon as I like recognize this, I'm like, well, that's actually pretty fucking sensible. Why wasn't I doing this all along? You know? But there was
like
a big period of time, right?
Like the shit I'm doing with the audio track, like after last night, I'm sitting here today. Like I had a lot of fun just by myself today. Like putting the headphones on, and once I got levels and everything where I thought it could be, like I did my reference track and I'm jamming the fuck out. Like, and then I just lose myself and listening to the shit over and over again for 30 minutes. And I'm like, damn it. Like trying to, like somebody's, I don't know. Do you hear the click, click? Like somebody sounds like they're swallowing a fucking microphone or something.
I think it might be. Well, here, look, I can test.
I hear it too.
Yeah, it's Frank's mic.
Is it?
Yeah, it's got like a little crackle to it. Every once in a while.
That's part of what I was
The connection.
checking out.
Fucking crazy shit.
I'm just listening through it. So
They're coming through.
I think it started before Frank came on. I think it started a while ago. I thought it was mine. I disconnected mine while I was off and reconnected, but it's coming through on YouTube.
Okay.
See, it's gone right now, right?
Yeah. Well,
Is it?
I bet too. Yeah.
No,
it's like the AI's
This
way
is
of
the pop crack
creators.
show.
I can't. Frank must have muted himself also because I can't unmute him. But nevertheless, I don't know. It'll either get fixed or and
Is it gone?
Really I don't know. Is it?
I thought I heard it earlier, even when it was me, you, and Kevin. I think even Arya.
Am I muted?
No.
No. Like, but now we're -1.
No, he's.
I think it is actually Arya's because I have her muted now and I don't hear it at all.
Oops.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's still there.
No,
I mean, yeah, Frank's reconnecting. I reconnected my headphones and everything.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's Arya's, but like, who wants to
I think
figure out?
Frank's probably reconnecting his stuff.
no good. So,
But anyway, what I was saying is like I just had a blast today and like
All right.
by
Listen
myself.
through it so far.
Yeah, I'm just saying like I have like speakers that are pointed at like my fucking
Nobody. Not me. Doesn't sound fun.
Yeah, just
Aaron's lagging, I think.
Your microphone sounds like ass, and
Yeah.
you have latency and
You have latency on your lips aren't moving at the same time. Please fix this.
you're at 512. I need you at 256, please.
like
Yeah.
fucking what?
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
And Aaron was lagging too. I don't know. It's altogether possible that StreamYard's got issues too. Who knows? I don't fucking know.
It's the AI controlling us from coming together.
That's what it is. Actually, the Illuminati's trying to stop what's happening on the planet. So they're just like subtly and imperceptibly just like integrating with this call.
I'm
And
like, man, they can get dick up till they hiccup, man. Fuck that shit. Like
True. Yeah. No, probably not that. It's probably the fact that like, you know, we just have a bunch of random setups connecting to a random thing.
yeah,
So,
it makes sense. That
yeah,
makes sense.
I played music for too long anyways, and Facebook blocked the stream because I played copyrighted music for too long. Because that's
What,
all
tonight?
naughty. What's that?
Tonight?
Yeah, like this started streaming on 2 different pages on Facebook and one and then the YouTube channel.
And your Wilcock intro fucking got you flagged?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. YouTube didn't take it down, but Facebook did. That's fine. I don't care whether anybody watches. I'm here to talk to you guys. So you guys all connect to StreamYard. Doesn't matter to me. So yeah. I don't know. We did have an awful lot of connection issues there. Apparently they're never coming back. But that's okay too. So what are you doing for fun lately, Arya? Are you doing anything for fun?
For fun?
Yeah. Just for no reason other than because it's fun.
Oh, I mean, it's Halloween time. Everything's fun.
Fair.
Last night I dressed up as Peter Pan.
That's solid.
Really?
That's
See,
solid.
fucking wow, that's cool. Like I just sit here and make my music like I fucking world passing like going by.
Have you considered dressing up like Peter Pan and make your music just because Halloween's right around the corner? Yes, you could do it.
Yeah.
Have you ever made music dressed up as Peter Pan? You know, my better than or something. I don't know.
Or I could just dress up as a mushroom.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's many possible costumes you could go with. I think the
Or just eat some. You could eat
Or
some.
that- that's kind of like dressing up as a mushroom. You must become the mushroom.
Right. Yeah. Unicorns and mushrooms.
That's a symbiotic relationship right there. You gotta be honest. You know, it really can't go wrong. So
Definitely not.
yeah, I mean, like when you are like, I feel like a unicorn would be very psychedelic, anyways. You know, it's probably got a nice glitter to its hair, and I wouldn't be surprised if it had like a rainbow tail or something like that. Or there
Exactly what I said. Like if you see one out there in the streets, you yourself has to stop and find and take whatever psychedelic substances are most closest to you. Like you have 2CE, fucking whatever it might be. Like it doesn't have to like you just have to fucking.
It's like a weird kind of drinking game that very gets activated. You know,
Wind up in some fucked up places, man.
when you're trying to get wasted, you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take a drink every time he says and, you know what I mean? But then in this one, it's like every time you see a unicorn, you have to take the closest psychedelics in whatever amount is available. Like you usually don't get called on this, but if you do, ooh, it's gonna be crazy.
I like to think that the unicorn poop itself would be a psychedelic substance.
I feel like it would. But can you bring yourself to eat horse poop just to get high?
It's unicorn poop. It probably like tastes
Maybe
like vanilla.
psilocybin mushrooms is actually unicorn poop.
I mean, technically, like cow shit, right? We eat shit. They taste like shit, and anyway, so I mean, we go hard or go home. I guess I don't know. Like,
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever had a mushroom that actually came out of cow shit. I'm not.
me either. But
Most of the ones I've had are hydroponically grown.
hydroponically grown.
Not hydroponic.
Or like just indoor though. Yeah.
Harvested.
That's a good way to. That's the way to go. Really, it's hard. It's fucking hard to find mushrooms. Like I've looked for mushrooms out in the wild like my whole life. You know what I mean?
Same.
They've only ever been found a handful of times without someone actually like taking me to a known place. And when they do, they're found usually in pretty low quantities, unless you're like walking around in the UK where they got like all kinds of fields with cloven hoof animals, and oftentimes there's mushrooms all over in them. But yeah, not a lot. There is, however, like Olympia High School, their football field.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's still the one that they have now, but the one that they have, at least when I was younger, and I know it was a little bit later too, because I know somebody much younger than me that also knew this, that like their football field has like a huge mycelial bloom underneath it, like psilocybin mushrooms, and like their football field actually gets fucking mushrooms all over it. So
that's pretty cool.
Because it's a high school, but they can't do anything about it. Like, what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? My mycelium just does whatever it wants. You can go ahead and try to kill it off. If you're successful, it's basically because it felt like leaving. It's not actually because you successfully killed it off. It just felt like leaving. Aaron, you're back.
I'm back. I had to switch to my phone. I figured my tablet was lagging like crazy because it's so cold here. It's getting cold in the fall. Now I had my heat going in my car, and it was overheating the tablet, and I could not figure out why I was going slow, but that's why. So now I'm on my phone.
Yeah, lucky me. I'm in California, man. It fucking feels great here now. Like at night, it's like, oh man, it's like 70 and shit, and it's nighttime at the same time. I mean, I love night. I love 70 degrees. Like those two things. So you put them together. Ooh, I'm excited. 70-degree night is like the best thing ever, unless I'm in specifically 8 degrees.
Dude, when the first bite, like the cold, when it's cold, the first chill comes in, like fall kicks in. Just happened a couple weeks ago, a month ago here, when that bite kicks in. It's so depressing. It's like no, no. Like we have such a short summer in Seattle. It's beautiful. It's great. It's green. It's like all this shit, but like it starts to get cold again. No, but then it's been the last last week or so. It's actually been nice. It's been cool to have that. It's a different shift in energy, whatever. The clouds are really cool. The light feels different. I don't know. It's been nice, but it also caused my tablet to overheat because it's so cold now. So I don't know. There's workarounds. Figure it out.
It was your heater that caused it to overheat, right? So like it was actually you.
It's true. It was me.
Good job, man. Good fucking job.
To death instead, and then your tablet would be cold, right?
Touche.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. Yeah, it's probably better that you don't freeze to death.
Wait, Aria, where are you? Are you in California?
I'm in Georgia.
Opposite California.
Georgia. Total opposite.
Yeah.
See,
what's weather like down there?
West Coast. Holy shit. I'm like, okay, all right. Damn.
Oh yeah, because you're
like the Four Corners right now. Because Kevin, you're up in the Northeast, right?
I'm in South Carolina.
Okay, so not really. Closer.
It's fucking 85 degrees here today.
Kind of interesting though, because like you're in South Carolina, she's in Georgia, I'm in Southern California, and then he's in Washington. If we had Frank on here, then we really have the Four Corners because he's straight up in New York. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. So yeah.
But apparently he's gone now.
Yeah, Atlanta's like 4 hours from where I'm. Like I went to see Pendulum in Atlanta. And yeah, I've gone to Savannah to just fucking go.
Just to go.
That's awesome.
Well, there's some like
Savannah.
smoke shops there. Like Smoke Cartel has a shop in Savannah and stuff like that. So
is that a music shop?
It's a fucking smoke shop, like a
cartel. All right.
Yeah. Like vaporized fucking
deliciously
tools and shit, that kind of stuff.
So besides the smoke shop, what's cool about Savannah?
Well, I thought the history of that little like town or whatever, like there was that movie, the book Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, based on the history and that crazy story, was awesome. I thought so. Like just the culture and stuff like that. I like that. Just and it's only like an hour and a half or 2 hours. Time and space shit's very weird with me lately, so I don't even fucking.
It is a distance from here.
It's something of the sort.
Yeah.
Something of the sort. Yes, it's like 2 hours, something like that. Yeah.
Good. Like when you're in Savannah, you're like, this place feels cool.
Yeah, I mean, like from the book and the movie, like it talks about like it's very rooted in voodoo. Like it has a like presence there and stuff like that, and like that's what that story's about.
Vibes is what you're
Like, like I thought it was a great story, and like this New York writer comes there from you know, he's writing a novel based on this guy's house party or whatever, and he said he calls his agent in a quote. It was John Cusack playing him. He said, "They walk imaginary pets on leashes here. New York is fucking boring." So that's what he said.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like that. Because it's pointing towards this idea that like the people here really have, in a sense, like a soul, and they have like an imagination to them. And then we have like these places that are oftentimes highly desirable, like the LAs or the New Yorks and stuff like that. And people like adore them in certain ways, you know, and it's like, I mean, in a lot of ways, like they do have their things, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But, like a lot of the coolest places that you'll go to are like, they're not those places. Like those places are very structured. You know?
Give me all your
Angela's.
kitsch.
What'd you say?
So give me all your kitsch. That's what I love about being in the South. It's
What is
so
kitsch?
weird. You know,
What's kitsch? What's
kitsch,
that word?
like kitschy stuff.
Oh, okay. So like
Oh
big
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, like quirky, vintagey,
Yeah,
like strange, just anything like.
Cool.
Yeah, give it to me. I love that.
Yeah, that's the,
Yeah, like
that is cool stuff. All that
the
stuff.
unique,
I understand. what
the
you mean.
unique, kitschy weirdness of people is awesome. Angela talks about living in Glastonbury, and Glastonbury is like the hotbed for the world of just weird, diverse, kitschy people. Man, you got all sorts of people dressed up on all sorts of different cultures, and you know, esoteric stuff, or you know, wizards, and just people come to live there and just be.
Portland might be
Like
trying
it's
to
a
rival
conglomeration of all that.
That's great.
you know. Like, Portland's definitely making a good effort as well. That place is fucking weird.
I would say it's
great.
funny since Seattle, I don't know if it's kitschy anymore. It's just Seattle. There's a lot of diverse
Seattle got
people in Seattle, but you get used to it.
Dude. Seattle back in like the turn of the millennium was so much fucking cooler than it is now, and it actually completely feels different if you ask me. I used to fucking love Seattle. Like I used to literally just like go up to Seattle just to like skate around at night, not even to like skate specific spots, just to like skate around downtown and down by the piers and shit, just because like it felt so fucking cool there. But like it's not the fucking same, man. Like the golden days of Seattle.
Well, that's like an influx of new like consciousness, and like that old consciousness went where like it's happening here. Like, because I'm in Charleston, so like if my dad was still alive, like he would shit egg rolls to see the population, like these people coming in. I'm like, how the fuck are y'all getting jobs around here? I'm like, I didn't even know we could support this kind of fucking like traffic around here. Like it's crazy, but Boeing's here, like Amazon's here, like all that kind of shit. And they just keep
The big A. The big A moves into your area. It can support whatever the fuck it wants to support now.
Yeah, I mean,
Dude, we've got free square blocks of the South Lake Union in Seattle were bought up by Amazon a few years back, and they've been building and growing nonstop, and that's been super busy until COVID. And now there's buildings we check the boilers of some of the Amazon buildings, and it's filled with barely any actual staff or people there. They're all working from home. And maintenance guys that are still there doing their thing, actually getting stuff done in the building, or, you know, there's not much to do. A lot of them are newer buildings, but they're kind of ghost towns, you know, and they built a lot of high-rise luxury apartments. 2 or 3 years ago was the first high-rise luxury apartments in Seattle, and they built it because of all the influx of Amazon and Google and Facebook employees that are all here. And so they're all in their apartments.
Yes. I mean, that's cool to an extent, but there becomes cabin fever, and then there's like no music venues to go check out, or what we were talking about. No fucking after parties even to like whatever, unless
right
you're
now,
throwing it down at your house or whatever, and you have to organize it and make it fucking happen. Like that's the only way you can buck on this shit. So,
Aaron, have you ever been to the club in Seattle that's like it's like 3 different floors? It's kind of a newer electronica club.
those are dope.
No.
Oh, okay. I'm fucking spacing a name right now, but I could figure it out. You like if you're even like, I mean, if you're looking to have a good time, you could just go by yourself. But if I'm in Seattle, we could definitely fucking go. They have good
Awesome.
fucking DJs there. They've been having like good music selection too, and a lot of like people who are more critical about the music have really been like supporting the place. It's actually a really fucking good club, maybe even one of the best in the nation. I wonder if it's
Really?
yeah.
There was always like there's
a lot of fucking good
different
shows. I've been to
levels.
so many fucking good shows in Seattle.
And
man.
there's always like the drum and bass room gets slammed in the smallest room every fucking time, unless there's a special night of like headliners coming in. Then they take the main room. Like that's the way, at least in DC, that's the way it was. But there's like an ambient or like trip hop kind of area for that music. Then there's drum and bass, and then you have the main room, which is like hard house, tech, like all that kind of stuff. Like it's fucking. Whatever.
These days, the main room DJ, like they don't even have a fucking set genre. It feels like half the time.
That's cool.
They're
That's
just,
cool.
like, playing a bunch of tracks that you're like, that's a good track. You know what I mean? Like isolated unto itself, that's a good fucking track. You
Like
know?
not even mixing tunes, they just fucking crossfading the shit out of them.
I was talking about this park and rave. The first guy when I tuned in, he was legitimately not mixing at all.
What the fuck?
He's actually a producer, and all of the tracks were like tracks he produced. You know, I know where like you come from and where I come from. Like you definitely mix that shit together, even if you produce them, right? But like he just like he wasn't about that life. That wasn't the way that he did it. I guess you know.
Like I said, I'd have a friend that was fucking way better at DJing than me. I'd give him the set list, and I'd MC over top of my fucking tracks to the fucking shit, and not embarrass the fuck out of myself like that. Like, dude, that guy kills at production, but he sucks at DJing. Like, fuck, what? Like, you don't want to put any like negativity out there like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Sounds like good teamwork.
I mean, realize like the majority of the audience is not like you or I, Kevin.
Well,
they do not have high standards. They don't like go like, man, this fucking guy's shit is like,
me.
That's out of key. Why is this mix out of key? They will never fucking say that in their life. They don't even know what that means. They don't know what it sounds like. They wouldn't know how to discern it. They don't care about that. And as long as the song dropped right, they're like, this is fucking sick. I feel great. And I like a certain argument, while I am like that purist, like you, I'm a fucking backpacker when it comes to hip hop. And I'm the guy that's standing there like, you know, next to the speaker going like, yeah, that's just slightly out of key, man. You didn't pitch this one right. You know, like I'm the guy doing that. At the same time, I also realize that the people that are like, they never say that, they're usually having more fun than me.
Yeah, I don't technically like out verbally, like my ears will always hear what they hear, but I don't just sit there and mean mug the fucking DJ. Unless I really want to like see what the fuck they're doing. This was back when like Stack and Skynet rolled in and they were spinning records and shit, and I wanted to watch them like fucking kill a dance floor, like fucking just grinder after grinder, like rock your face, like that shit was epic, like you know what I mean. And dude looks like a little fucking dork, thick ass Coke bottle glasses, and just murdered the fucking set. I was like, oh my god, like I watched, like I straight up was fucking train spotting that motherfucker, like watching what he was doing. And then went home and sucked ass, you know what I mean? So, but it was cool. It was cool.
That's kind of the way she goes, right?
Fucking 2 shoes in a dryer, no big deal.
Yeah.
Well. And then there's some people there just like the vibe, and they're looking for an aria to give them some body painting, and that's all they think about, not the music.
Yeah, that's cool too. That's cool too. Absolutely. Now you can just hit a sync button and fucking be good to go.
Yeah, people do stuff for different reasons, you know. Like if you want to make sure it's a good DJ, then you go to a fucking show where you know the DJ's good, man. Like if that's a thing that's like super important to you, that's what you do. You know what I mean?
Just
like, it's simple.
And then the rest of the time, like we were talking about, changing your internal perspective, so you're just shifted into having fun. So you pick up, like Kevin, you can't, like I said, you can't not hear. Like all times, I mean, there's times I've been so intentional in having fun, I'm surprised I didn't hear things. Someone points them out, like, did you notice that? Shit, I didn't. I usually do. I'm just having a good time though. And then there's other times you do notice, but you're set and having a good time, so it's fine, man. Humans are imperfect. Shit's not always perfect. You find a way with all little imperfections here and there to make that also fun, because that's just fucking reality, and then enjoy it, you know?
Yeah.
If the vibe's good and the mushrooms are good and all that shit too, then hell yeah.
Yes, I mean, psychedelics help. From my recent polling in a channel that had thousands of people and probably 150 of them responded to my question. From today's rave goers, somewhere between 90 and 100% of the raves they go to, they do psychedelics when they go to it.
I hear that's supposed to be a good time.
Yeah, the answers were basically, I do not do psychedelics 90% of the time, every single time. Those were basically the only answers, and literally, actually, they were the only answers. There was nothing in between.
Huh.
So, it fits.
What
Dude.
would constitute psychedelic in a rave? I mean, I think of, we've got LSD and you've got mushrooms, but like I don't think of like, isn't Molly and things like that really common in raves? Doesn't necessarily be a psychedelic, right?
That's
Ketamine, 2CE, 3PO, whatever the fuck the kids call it nowadays.
Fucking Chewbacca's a little bit of Han Solo.
Whatever.
Who knows, dude? Like whatever. I mean, psychedelic really just means that it makes your mind present, right? So whether it's like an empathogen, like a Molly, MDMA, 2C complex, something like this, which doesn't really have the same like visual effect and isn't a true psychedelic, it's still like it does make a certain facet of your mind present inside of your reality and alters the way that you interface with your reality. And in that function, it is making a different portion of your mind present. So while it might not like scientifically classify as a psychedelic, the experience of it is one of psychedelia.
I was shooting lightning out of my fingers on Molly.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, I was.
Like almost honestly, the ecstasy that we used to always get back in the day. This is like 20 years ago, so don't arrest me, FBI. It always had synthetic mescaline in it. In fact, we specifically sought that out because it would just the effect of it was really nice. You know what I mean?
I miss that, man. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
so that's part of like
I always had problems with anything that had anything to do with ecstasy. I don't know why, except for the first time. It's weird.
Huh.
Maybe I'll be different in the future. I've had problem with psychedelics for 15 years. I just kept doing them, despite the fact that it was always going bad. I just don't bitch about it. You know what I mean? People are like, "Oh, how was that last night?" I was like, "Honestly," and they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "It was fucking horrible." They're like, "So you're never gonna do that again?" I'm like, I didn't say anything about that.
Yeah.
I said it was fucking terrible, dude. That's how it goes sometimes. But that was I really realized a lot that was like the reason why I was doing the things. I very much so have had like an engagement with them where I was using them as basically like a learning modality. So I was taking them like very serious, and there was a lot of like, if you're using them as like a self-discovery modality, well, then a good trip is one where you engage some shit about yourself that you're like, fuck, this sucks. And now you can do something about it. You know what I mean? Like that's what psychedelics always did for me anyways. Like I used psychedelics when I wanted something to fix and I couldn't see it. And so you do psychedelics, and by the end of that night, you're like, fuck, man, I got to completely overhaul this part of my life, you know? And like, it works
so
good.
what you're saying is you may, in this new perspective you're having of having fun, may take on a whole new relationship with psychedelics to actually have fun.
Slay dragons on the golf course, dude.
It's actually guaranteed because, like, I think of reality, standard reality, as actually the most psychedelic experience. I think it's the most profound psychedelic experience that we ever have because our interface with standard reality. My engagement with those substances, the point for it was completely sculpted by who I actually was because it was like a discovery of myself mechanism. And so as myself like modifies to other things, the experience with them is always going to be changing because it's just a deeper, more profound look at, part of myself that I don't see, but I'm always seeing more. So it's always looking somewhere different. So the really problem with me was that like I had a lot of places that when I looked into who I was myself, I didn't like who I saw. You know what I mean? And it's not because like I was a bad person. It's just because like progressively, like that was maybe not a thing that I liked anymore, or I saw a way that I wanted to adjust it, or I saw how it was hurting myself or someone I cared about, or limiting me from some kind of opportunity or potential or possibility. And so a lot of times that led to, nights of like sitting there crying for like 4 hours straight or like whatever. But like progressively, everything I go through in my life, I really view it as a kind of the same thing. And so like I'm always being malleable and I'm always changing into somebody else. So the experience with them will always be malleable, really, because my experience with reality is constantly changing, period. Yeah.
How's Arya? Have you had much psychedelic use, like in either these different events or whatever? What's your experience?
I partied a lot back in the day, but I never really had very good experiences with like mushrooms and things. And lately, I tried them. They don't do much for me. I know it's an unpopular opinion, but like I've had more trippy experiences doing breath work and meditation than I have on mushrooms.
A little bit fucking like more real, in my opinion, because there's no like external facilitation. Like Terrence McKenna used to talk about how, like, in a certain sense, like he was glad that you had to eat mushrooms to get into this space, because if that was to happen to him naturally, he would think that was terrifying.
Sometimes I feel like I'm going crazy because I will flash in and out of different places, just living. And I'm like, oh, I think I was like talking to you, Zach, one time about like just seeing the cosmic turtle. I was like walking down my hallway and I just flashed and I saw the cosmic turtle. And
like the closest thing we could relate it to was if you flip the light switch. But then it's like, oh, I'm having a different experience now. But like, what is the difference between what I'm experiencing now and having a completely different experience, but a binary light switch functionally, right? Like that's the difference between yes and no, right? Or left and right. So really all you gotta do is flip a single little switch and now everything's fucking different now, really, to your experience.
It just helps to know where the switch is, you know?
It's pretty comforting. Yeah.
Well, I think like when I was younger, like y'all know this, like I did the hallucinogens like because I was a fucking kid and I did kid shit and had a kid mentality, and it was only like a year ago that I grew my own strain of like penis envy mushrooms and like have the awareness and what I want to do with this newer mindset, since I've been down this fucking rabbit hole for the last few years, and me growing my own strain and then doing them, like they were fucking potent as shit, but like because I gave them love from inception, basically, like the strongest dose you're supposed to eat is like 2.5 grams of the PEs, and like my scale wasn't fucking calibrated and I fucked up and I chomped down 7.5 grams. My first like I hadn't done shrooms in like 15 years, like, and it was totally good. I was totally good. Like when I wanted to like slip away and get goofy and have fun, like I could do that. But then when like I wanted to bring myself back from it and like focus in on something serious, like I could do that as well. And like I went inward, did meditations on them and stuff like that. It was awesome. So like I got 2 strains inoculated right now. Fucking just the hurry up and wait game is where it's at.
This thing with me with psychedelics, how much we're capable of actually like navigating what the experience is going to be with our intention.
Like that's kind of what I was going to mention is like the last few times I did them recently, I actually did them. I wanted a purpose out of it, so I set it up in a way that had the intention, and it took like quite a bit because it didn't do much for me up until then. And I was like, okay, I'm like doing like yoga, I'm waiting, I'm like breathing and meditating and waiting for them to kick in. And then all of a sudden I'm just like, I'm a sarcophagus. And I go to sleep on the couch like this and I wake up.
I am a sarcophagus.
Still nothing.
What? Okay, when you said, how much did you measure it out? How many did you take? How much did you take?
I took the whole, like, I want to say, I think I had 5 grams left and I took all 5 grams.
What the fuck strain was it?
I don't remember. They were. Which ones did we get?
Well, if they look like penises, you would probably remember that, and they'd probably whip your ass too.
So. They were definitely not those because I've wanted to try those. Actually, they had the golden caps.
Golden teachers?
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are really good too. I mean, they're not as potent as PEs, but I mean, they're the teacher's supposed to come out. You're supposed to have your lesson, learn your lesson, all that good shit. Like they're like, I've had them.
But like here, but I've yet to experience it. I've seen things that I thought were the machine elves, but it was while I was meditating. I maybe smoked a little bit of like weed, but that was it. And I was just meditating, and I saw like machine elves tinkering with reality. That was interesting.
You know, it's funny because my experience before psychedelics, I didn't experience psychedelics until, I don't know, a year and a half ago or so when that all started, and then dove down that path. But I had plenty of my own encounters in prayer, meditation. I mean, all interacting with all sorts of entities or angels or things or, you know, I mean, demons, dealing with all that stuff, totally sober. I just grew up in a way learning how to integrate that perceived reality, that just out of eyesight reality into my actual cognitive reality. So those interactions, those thoughts, those things have always been very, very, very real to me. And what's funny is the psychedelics I had one encounter out of the many that I've done, spoken DMT one time that I had a brief encounter, what I talked about on Frank's show a while ago. Well, did we talk about the show? I don't know. Some brief encounter with which the whole context of everything came to be, well, let's say it was something that an entity was aggressively coming after me and trying to distract me here. Like it was like coming through this dimensional thing. And while they were doing other things, like they were trying to put this tentacle in while I wasn't paying attention. And I remember like just keeping eye contact, grabbing this tentacle and reverse feeding it out. And there's a whole dynamic to that. But that was it. That was like the most encounter with an entity. Other than that, all the other encounters have been really profound internal dynamics or ways of like that mix between those other dimensions, but being able to
setting too, man. Set and setting. It's really important.
And
one thing
like
that I have enjoyed from mushrooms though is it makes me feel more physically in my body. And I think actually for me, I think it like reverses a dissociative process. So I feel
Yeah,
totally
and
very, very real thing that you're talking about right there in my experience.
Yeah.
My first 3 experiences with ayahuasca, no like what you would call hallucinogenic effect whatsoever. I felt very human. I was very like, I felt better in my body than I ever have. I felt more like empathic and open to the other energies of the space than I ever have, but there was no discernible hallucinogenic effect. And I was definitely taking doses that are enough to have a threshold experience, but none whatsoever. Like no visual, very minimal purging. It just like put me in my body and I felt great being there. And really like probably the greatest thing that I personally got out of ayahuasca was actually a period in time where I like was actually in a moment where I was like, I'm actually super fucking psyched I'm a human. I'm actually super psyched on that. I had never been in that position in my life up to that point.
What if that's the progression? So I think it makes sense to me that there's the experiences a lot of times we have or we hear other people have on mushrooms. And Frank's, his whole show is based off his experience with ayahuasca and different experiences there that are very real. And Frank talks about too. We talk about the dynamic about integrating like our higher self, bringing it down, not externalizing these things. It's all us. It's all in us. So part of like a shift maybe in consciousness of the way entheogens and psychedelics affect humanity at the time we're in, more and more people are going to have grounding experiences. It's not about going out and experiencing things or experiencing other external beings. It's being like everything you just described, being present in your body, understanding the value of being human, of being here, of being present, of being, like instead of dissociating to these other things, I think can be very, very real and have been for a long time. But even just the era we're in is bringing that all into the body.
Well, even in like Amazonian shamanism, they're like, you can go in with an intention, but the experience is going to show you what you need to know. Like that's what it's going to do. So like if you need to be like more down to earth, you need to like, as Arya is saying, have a less disassociative experience, then it's entirely possible that what you will experience is something that is not like out there, but much more in there. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's why
this is beneficial.
The emerald tablets, like before, like I didn't process them the way I have now. So the emerald tablets kind of showed themselves into my view, and then from there I got into the hermetic principles, and like I've been down that fucking rabbit hole like the last month or so.
Anytime you want to talk about that for much longer than you want to talk about that, just let me know.
Like Billy Carson, I love that man's mind. So what he was saying, like, when Thoth says like it's the temples, the temple gates flew open, he's talking about these temples right here, not in some physical building and stuff like that. And he totally like broke down some things that like I had missed when like I was listening, and then also like reading along with those tablets. And it's really good shit. It just before I guess I just wasn't at the right frequency to hear that shit, and now I am for some reason. So it's all like.
Well, and there's totally like a lot of that. I don't know because you went to a very traditional setting, Zach. How many ceremonies did you say your first 3? How many total did you do while you're there?
Actually, I did 4 while I was there that time. So it was only actually, I feel like the 4th one lasted about 285 years. So like it definitely made up for the first 3. It was much more psychedelic than I needed it to be on the 4th time. Like way more psychedelic than I needed it to be.
Because Graham Hancock talks about that too, like which I love that he presents this as one of the things he said for a long time. But he thinks all politicians, like if you get elected into office, you have to go through 12 ayahuasca ceremony sessions, or like if you're, whatever. Like it's a multiple, because it's a progression even of like, especially think of the concept of like some people are too old to unplug from the matrix. Maybe it just means you need a few more ayahuasca sessions than the person who's a little bit younger, because your mind needs to be able to wrap yourself around some other concepts that we've been ingrained to for decades. Too connected to 3D in the body in some ways.
The first fucking gringo ayahuasquero of real note down in Peru is a guy named Hamilton Souther. He runs the Blue Morpho Center. And like, there's a documentary about them, and inside that documentary, he's leading a ceremony, and like, you hear all these people just like purging and crying in the room. They're obviously having like a horrible time, and he's sitting there shaking a chicapa shaker, which this is done entirely to raise the vision, to enhance, like to make it stronger. Right. And he's sitting there shaking it, going, "Remember, you want this. Like this is what you want. Like you want to be experiencing. You'd be having whatever experience you want right now. So if you're having a fucking horrible time, look no further than yourself, my friend." Like that's why you're having a bad time. And I can tell you that's entirely true. Like in a certain way, like, I'm a very resistant person, but like you don't want to go down you don't even got to go down. You could just go to your living room and drink like a threshold dose of ayahuasca and then try and resist the experience. That is going to be a bad fucking time for you. I'm telling you right now. And it's kind of the true with all psychedelics. Like if it's really, I mean, maybe not if you're like a case where it's having like a less disassociative experience, but if it's trying to disassociate you and you're resisting that disassociation, that like tension that's created by that, ooh, that's nasty, dude. That's like, I don't know who, like it will actually, if you take enough, it will go until you can't resist it, and then you will break against your will. And that is actually can be a very traumatic experience, actually. And that's not actually necessary. Like if you kind of go into it just having already given up to begin with, then you kind of skip this whole trying to fight it thing. Well, sometimes you actually want to fight it because you want to be shown that you cannot resist it.
Like that shit always just felt like home to me. Anytime, like from when I was young, like first doing like psychedelics, like when that shit was like as present as water. Like fucking everybody had doses. Like hits were 50 cents a fucking pop. Like books, sheets, whatever. Like even then, like when I was impressionable and still, building this construct and shit in high school, like I never fucking geeked out or kirked the fuck out or had a bad experience. And then so when finally as an adult, I'm like, well, I'm here now at this fucking place. Let me become my own shaman, make my own shit, and turn that shit inward and see what the fuck happens. And it was awesome. I mean, like, me and Willow started fucking dosing at the same time and stuff. And then we would actually fucking pick up on, even though her strain wasn't the same as mine, there were just things that I'd type and she'd be like, the telepathy symbol, we'd send back and forth to each other, even like on a small level like that. Like,
totally.
How do you guys feel about this from your psychedelic experience? Do you feel that different psychedelics take you to a different space? Or is it perhaps something else, just like psychedelics create a heightened experience and you end up in different spaces?
I think that it creates a certain like openness and connection to say someone else who is actually open and connected on that same frequency, but the different strains will give you different visualizations, different characteristics for that strain. That's how.
Why do you think that is?
Because there are some that are just fucking nasty, fucking potent, and like the PE.
Do you feel like they have their own agenda, or do they have their own story set, or like why is it different?
The way I've heard it described, and that makes the most sense to me, is they're like children. They have their own likes, their own dislikes, and like you said earlier, like you can, if you sprayed that football field with fucking weed killer trying to get rid of that mycelium or whatever, and eventually left is because they wanted to leave, not because you actually got rid of them. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So I mean, like the
You
penis
can tell them to leave, but they go when they want.
personality right there. So like the PEs, like they take forever to actually pop up through the substrate, and that's because they're hanging out underneath, getting potent as fuck. And then when they do, you know, pop through, then you're like, score, like fucking, and it is what it is. Like, so it was just a perfect culmination. Like they are hands down, like, and I'm an experienced Jedi in hallucinogenics. They are hands down the best mushrooms I've ever fucking done. And maybe it's because of the magic that I put into them, but that's why.
Do you notice a difference in mushrooms you had eaten that you didn't cultivate and mushrooms that you've eaten that you did cultivate?
The level. Okay, it was like with these, it was a difference. Like I remember noticing the difference between hippie acid and raver acid. Like the raver acid was like you could lose your fucking mind internally with these visuals, and it was very fast and fucking out of control. Whereas the hippie acid was very fucking like you were okay between your temples, and the visuals were intense, but on a mellower scale. Like whoever, like it was. So it's the PEs like are like that, but like I said, it was like I could control them because when I wanted to like just geek the fuck out by myself, and that's basically what happened this summer. Like I was by myself, fucking eating a couple ounces of penis envies and like doing that kind of shit.
Do you guys think that these compounds have the ability to like basically absorb the agenda and the energies that they are?
I do, and I think that's why like certain people probably should not grow them. I don't know about eat them, because in the wrong hands they could probably like, if they do culminate them, they would be really fucked up for people. Like,
have you ever had like some evil mushrooms?
No, I haven't had a bad experience. So I mean, I don't know. Like,
well, it doesn't necessarily have to be bad. Just like
I don't think
rather than the clown smiling, it's scowling.
I've never like started having evil thoughts and fucking wanted to go stab somebody in the fucking face while like under psychedelics, unless we were on the golf course and slaying dragons, then I want to go slay that bug zapper. That was the dragon. And then we'd make that our 2-hour trip over to that section of the golf course. And that was fucking awesome shit. Like totally losing yourself, but being aware that if we see blue lights, fucking run. Or, if I still get baffled, like what would somebody be thinking if they saw like the three of me and my two buddies that did this all the time fucking roll up in their fucking backyard and like roll deep on this fucking bug zapper they have fucking chilling up the back of like full intensity. Like I couldn't imagine like 911, like fucking have to grab the gat and fucking I'm calling 911, but I'm getting the 12 gauge. Like I'm sure we were bugging the fuck out, but it was like the most intense but most fun. But those were the times also I wish I was where I am now, so I could have turned that inward and see, maybe I'd be levitating by now, that type of shit. But that's not where I was. That wasn't supposed to happen until right now. So like, I'm just aware of it perfectly working itself out to be right where I am right now.
Yeah, and that's kind of the like you get what you need kind of thing, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I definitely have a very like public experience on psychedelics that I've spent really 20 years going like, I wonder what a third party perspective thought of that. Just because it was like, well, really honestly, it was like so degenerate. You know what I mean? But there was nothing I could do about it. I was just like really high on drugs. There was nothing I could do about it. That's what life was right now. But I've always kind of like thought of like, well, like the place had like a gas station near it. Like, what if somebody was just like standing next to their car at the gas station watching this transpire? What would they have thought of me? They don't know me. They don't know nothing about me. They're just watching this little slice of life play out. Fuck. Weird. I've gone down like that storyline like a fucking 1,000 times in my head. Most of them are not like, that is a very responsible individual. That's not what they were thinking.
Like, yeah.
Where it's less about your story, what you remember. It's what other people remember about this guy they saw who was doing X, Y, and Z.
And that's probably part of the reason why like 999 of those stories have been perceived as like that was not very responsible, because that's kind of like my take on myself with that experience.
Oh, it was the
like,
best in my experience. We had the fucking most fun. Like, to totally lose yourself, but be aware enough to know that you are letting all that shit go. And yeah, you're fucking a little bit old to be seeing dragons and walking around with flag sticks thinking they're swords and going, but I mean, it's fucking awesome. Like,
I was kind of on this crusade at that time to find out like what was too much. So it was inevitable that I ended up engaging an experience that I'm like, well, there's the line. Found it. That's it right there. That's too much. Yep. And like that was just the time, you know what I mean? That was when I breached the, okay, well, you probably shouldn't do that much. Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow.
I thought I was going to die, like for real. Not like because of the drugs. Like, I mean, I was very much so like, yeah, I'm having this experience because of the drugs, but like, it's very logically possible that you actually took too fucking much, dude. Like, you legitimately took too much.
Wow.
I for years and years and years, I like kept on thanking these two people that were basically on either side of me in the back of this car, because like I kept on like blacking out and I would like fall over with my head, and they were like, you know, we were all like fucking 15 or 16 or whatever. So like you didn't want your buddies, your bro's head on your shoulder. That was gay. And you didn't do that. You know what I mean? So right away they would be like, get off me, man. You know what I mean? And they like kept on like bringing me back into like reality, and I would just like fall over the other way. But like I thanked them for years after that for basically keeping my ass alive, you know? Because like I was sitting there doing that going like, man, if you actually like fall into one of these and you don't like, you ever come fucking back from that.
If your consciousness went, it would just stay out or whatever. Like
I was legit blacking out, you know what I mean? Like
I've done that a few times, but I've always just fucking been able to pop back in or whatever. Like, you know, I've never like wigged the fuck out and thought that particular thing at all whatsoever, because that's a fucking no-no.
What was so scary about it in the moment was I wasn't wigging out at all. It was like this very calm thought that's like, yeah, you know, like if you black out like this, you maybe just don't not black out like that.
Scarier, actually.
It's like, okay, you know,
yeah,
you know. And it was that was a fucking bad night, you know, like that was just the beginning of like a very long ordeal that was not very fucking enjoyable.
Like, where's the uppers, man? Shit, trying to fucking keep my
I should have taken a fucking benzo as quick as possible is probably what I should have done for my own fucking sanity. Yeah. Really, like as soon as I made the mistake that led to that, I should have been like, well, we're gonna need to tone that back, you know, because
snacks.
I was not about that life at that point in time, though. You know, I was very much so on like it's kind of like the Terrence McKenna methodology. You know what I mean? Like no diddler doses and like figure out how to deal with it and all this kind of shit. So I was on some fucking crusade. Yeah. I wanted to prove something to myself. And what I proved to myself was like, there's a line where like, it's just too much, dude. Yeah. Wow. That line's arbitrary too. Like you never know. Like in one moment it could be just like a thought that you have, and in another moment it actually has to be this really dramatic experience. But like it's more about navigating your reality right now and knowing when it's like, okay, I'm across the line. I need to fucking use my tools to bring myself back into control before I'm like stepping forward down a pathway that I don't really want to go down. You know? And I mean, for me personally, that had to be like beat into my fucking head. You know what I mean? Like I'm very like overly confident. You know what I mean? Going into anything, I'm like, yeah, I can do it, no problem. You know what I mean? And then there's like a lot of shit I can't do. You know what I mean? It's like, bop. Okay, well, I mean, you know, I could do it all the way until then. And then fucking that was bad.
Practice. I'm practicing. I'll get it.
You get better. You definitely do get better at it. Willow definitely notices the difference between strains of shrooms. Yeah. I don't know. I that's one thing I think I like so much about like the psychedelics is that like they've had so little testing that the jury's still out on like everything. We like don't really know what they do yet.
Now though, like that's fucking like awesome shit. Like a lot of like reputable places are like doing research and all that kind of stuff. Like so finally.
Yeah, but then
Well,
also
Paul-
at the same time, like, you know, in certain ways, the people that I've asked about their experiences in my life, like, they're reputable people to me. They might not have
That's
like some
okay.
kind of university credential or whatever, but their experience makes
Yeah,
them
yeah,
fucking
yeah.
reputable.
It's one thing. It's one thing to have like a actual scientific methodology. You know what's going on in the physiology and doses and people, and like, I mean, it's beneficial. It integrates into society. It makes it acceptable. Even be funded by healthcare dynamics or whatever. That's awesome. But also, it ultimately comes down to the anecdotes. I mean, anecdotes are reality. So when you have the more anecdotal stories you can take in for, so say like even just on YouTube, I bet you could even do nowadays a survey just of YouTube, just someone wants to dive into this, look up, you know, whatever you want to say, 100 different people sharing their story with penis envy mushrooms, and then, or 20, 30, 50, whatever, and then with different strains. There's enough people sharing now. Just pick out, like, listen to all the anecdotal stories, and you could probably create your own, you know, what do we, like, Venn diagram, or, you know, like that. What do we go through that one time in that episode, the hyperspace? You know, it could actually from anecdotes.
Map.
Yeah, so not just from
That's how that guy got
science
it.
and research.
That map is made by
Right.
a dude who has never taken a psychedelic in his life. He just
That's what I'm
sourced a bunch
saying.
of information from trip reports on DMT Nexus and shit like that and started classifying shit. And I think like
Exactly what
he's the
I'm
perfect guy
talking
to do it. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't have a bias because he doesn't have his
Right.
own experience.
Right.
So he's just
Yeah.
like, he's just a data collection point. He's a true consensus, you know? He's
Yeah.
not subjective at all. He's an objective center. And so like that's actually like perfect. And I think that's why that map is like really accurate. I mean, it's consistent with every experience I have had. I just recognize that there's certain domains on that map that I've had basically no interface with. You know?
Yeah.
Like there's a nature domain on there. Just like, nope, not a lot of that.
Well,
Like-
so like I think that's the importance of just us. I mean, just the benefit, I guess, maybe not importance, but the benefit of the modern day we're in, even having the conversations we're having now, it puts more stories into the collective awareness, into the morphogenic field and whatever. And so there's, yeah, I think there's definitely, that's something that interests me actually, is hearing people's stories and then just making some kind of map or grid just for my own curiosity. You don't have to even do it yourself. You really can get sourcing from other humans interacting with these substances, especially mushrooms, been around for billions of years, and share 50% of our DNA. You know?
Yeah, there's definitely a weird connection there. And there's a weird connection between, like, there's a certain camaraderie that comes from just like, well, okay, a person that's done mushrooms and they ask another person, you ever done psychedelic mushrooms? And that person's like, yes. A certain camaraderie builds from that very small thing that is like pretty fucking large for just like one thing. If you were like, hey man, have you ever had Doritos? And you're like, yeah, I've had them. Nacho cheese, they're the best. That same level of resonance does not exist at all. You know what I mean? It's totally fucking different. And I think that's really like, that probably like just points itself towards like the profundity of the experience.
Sure.
It really like, it's almost like going to the same high school as someone else rather than being like, have you gone to school?
I found out this dude I worked with at the car wash, like we just found out that we both were psychonauts. So what did we do? We got DMT ordered in, like before I knew how to make
3
it.
seconds later, you're best friends.
Like there it was, man. Like we're smoking fucking DMT, like, and that's why I have that tree, like the tree behind me. It's what I fucking. So there's the elves you said you talked about, and then there's like Frank says something where he says you can see all that kind of stuff in the DMT realms, and he's like, but then you can skip over that shit, like you can go past that stuff, and that's kind of what happened to me, and that's my daily reminder. This fucking tapestry behind me of what I saw, and that's why I have the pine cones hanging here too for the pineal and shit like that. Like I skipped over all that fucking DMT elves and shit and went right like to the fucking tree of life, like, and those are like the shade of colors, like what I saw there, and like as I'm looking up to see how fucking gigantic that shit is, I fucking came right back down into this.
So what if that's part of like, okay, let's presume here, not that this is necessarily true, but let's presume there's agendas, and that agendas is like, I feel like the word agenda has negative nuances. Everybody's got an agenda. We have an agenda to have fun on the show. It's an agenda to have fun on the show and talk and whatever.
But at its core, it's really just a to-do list.
Or a vector. It's a vector. It's a vector.
Yeah, what's on the agenda for today? Well, you know, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to take a poop and get my coffee and then I'm going to go to work. You know what I mean? Like, that's like, it's not actually a true negative connotation.
Yeah. So like, let's say part of the agenda or the byproduct of, let's say, entheogens, if there's his own consciousness there and some kind of merging with humanity, there's some kind of benefit of them coming into the consciousness of men or humans, right? They allow them, let's say mushrooms, for example, and coming into people, we're allowing them to be more legalized and more available. So maybe they just want to be experienced by more people, or they want people to experience them or whatever. But also the different machine elves and the different things, that if like, I don't know, it's interesting to think that what appears to some people is what they need. Their psyche needs that anthropomorphization of a mermaid or of a thing that is a very real thing, but it's the thing they need to understand what they need to understand.
Some fucked up shit on that stuff. Like I was like, damn, what fucking traumatic shit do you have stored away in your fucking subconscious that he was seeing fucking like evil shit under? I'm like, get out of my fucking vortex with that shit. I don't need that shit permeating over in my fucking area. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. I'm not really one to the power of suggestion anyway. I'm like, fuck off. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like, I hold my own, I hold it down. But like, he was seeing like, I'm serious, like Luciferian shit I'm like, what the fuck is I'm like, we're smoking the same shit, right? Like that was some deep trauma of like evil, dark shit that he was seeing that I did not. I experienced the oneness. I felt everyone and fucking like saw everything at like, so my shit was epic. It was the first time I had like broken through, was under this stuff and experienced true ego death, and then came back. And then I sat in silence for 30 minutes, smiling the entire time because I was processing it to never forget it. Like, because my ego was trying to like, no, you're going to fucking forget about that shit. You left me behind, motherfucker. Fuck that. So I literally like just sat there and didn't say anything, like just to make sure I didn't forget it. And now I have this hanging here.
Which is hard to do, right? Like sometimes you come back from a DMT trip and your entire mind is like, all right, start babbling like a retard.
Whoa,
you know yeah, I mean? Like that's what everything inside of you is going, like, say words, lots of words.
Like, my ego was fucking furious. It was like, oh, you're gonna forget this shit. It's like, so I literally just Jedi'd up and shut the fuck up for 30 minutes and like locked it in there. Like, and so like
I think in a whole lot of ways we really prefer the stories too. Like it makes this thing more approachable. And like, you know, I don't know if that's true for everybody, but I know like I've had some storybook nights, and then I've also had some nights where like, you know, I saw kind of like a projection of like my 4-year-old son standing in the corner wearing a t-shirt that there was a picture of me that my mom always kept in her room. And he was just standing there in the corner fucking crying for like 6.5 hours straight one night. And it was fucking horrible, dude. It was fucking horrible. Like no matter what I tried to focus on, I couldn't forget that like off to the left of me across the room, there's my fucking kid, and he's like crying, but I know he's not actually there. You know what I mean? It's just, and what it really was like, I mean, after years of fucking diving into this and dealing with all kinds of shit surrounding that, like there was like a part of myself that was always thinking about how my kid was feeling in that moment. And it was perceiving that he was like very hurt and very troubled and very like a person would be when they're standing in the fucking corner crying. You know what I mean? Like that was my perception of the life that my child was having. And I kept that running inside of my fucking head all the time. And I like, it wasn't just during the psychedelics that he was standing there. That was when I could see him. Right? That was always standing there in the corner of my mind across the room was this concept. Right? And so like that could have been presented through story, and really quite honestly, that was presented through story in other ways before I got it. But like I will never forget the way that my fucking kid looked in the fucking corner that night. Like literally every time I think about him, a certain part of my mind is like thinks of that moment. You know, or it was longer than a moment, but any snapshot of looking over there at it and being like, fuck, man, fuck.
That's taking what you need. That's the lesson you fucking needed to have. Like, there's like that profound shit all the time, man. Like, but I guess I don't have responsibility like that, nor never, you know what I mean? So in that regard, I guess I've just never been tied to that, you know, those responsibilities or that weighing on my subconscious, that kind of stuff. I wasn't, my parents gave me the power of choice. Like, you want to be friends with these Mormons over here? Fucking go ahead. We're not going to tell you anything about it. We're going to let you go fucking find out all about that shit on your own. And we surprise, whatever. So I literally started asking questions like, I mean, that was the best thing that they'd ever done. So I'm not, anytime I took these psychedelics, like I just wasn't imprinted with a dogma or any kind of shit like that could have been fucking weighing me down. You know what I mean?
Have you purposely dove it into certain dogmas, like holding them in your mind to create the mindset of living inside of that dogma, and then taking psychedelics simply to explore that dogma and see what it looks like?
You have, Zach. Please share.
How? No, I haven't. What are you talking about? So why would you think
formulate
that?
the
You
question?
can fucking psychedelic your ass in the next room, bro. Like I'm fucking having the good time in my fucking area.
It can be very fun.
Holy
Yeah,
shit.
please elaborate.
Amazing.
Share.
Heavy dope, man. It's heavy shit.
Like, well, I mean, really, like if you're doing it through like a symbol set, I think that it's very worthwhile to actually like see the same story through many different lenses, because like you pick up parts that you don't pick up from other ways of looking at it, and then the cross reference of those ways of looking at it also oftentimes brings new things out of the stories.
Sure.
And so you can get like additional value out of them. And a lot of what I've done with psychedelics is like use them to basically take on a completely different perception. So like the whole point and the intention of going into the psychedelic would be like that, like I'm not going to be me, I'm going to be this different person that I can imagine. You know what I mean? And then you spend time like meditating, putting yourself into that mindset, and then like while the psychedelic is coming on, you engage with that mindset, like you play out that person, much like playing a character in a play.
Sure.
And you know, then when the psychedelics set in, they have a tendency to set in with that character as the basis instead, and then you have a tendency to explore that mindset.
Huh.
You know? And it's a very interesting way of actually like putting yourself experientially into a pair of shoes that like you don't actually wear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's the good thing to do with them or the bad thing. I don't know. It's just a thing to do with them.
Give an example. So the concept you said is great, and you articulated it very well. Super fluidic Zach Mortimer way. It was great. But what's a specific example?
I ate a bunch of LSD over the course of 3 days once, and spent the entire time acting like a dog the whole time, so that I could understand what life was like to be a dog. There's an example.
You can do that with amphetamines too,
Fascinating.
man.
It utterly changed my entire life, like big time.
Elaborate. Like, what are things you learned from that? Maybe not just maybe during it or in hindsight.
Level of respect for dogs at this point in time. It actually ended because this was prior to me having like the last 2 dogs that I had, but the last 2 dogs that I had were like basically a perfect expression of myself, and I could see myself in them all the time, but they were just like complete polarizations. Like my dog Sasha was like the squishy, happy, like loving version of myself, and my dog Red was very much so like the defensive, ready to strike at any moment version of myself. And I could really like watch myself navigate every single situation from a dog's perspective while I lived a 16-year life with them. And so like the process of 3 days of acting like I was a dog facilitated my mindset of being able to experience myself outside of myself for 16 years straight through a relationship with 2 canines. So it's
awesome.
I mean, I learned a couple things from it.
Right
like
on.
a whole lifetime of things. Yeah. And very much so, like I'm all into Native American animal medicine and shit. And like the whole point of doing that was basically to embody wolf medicine. And like, this is certainly not me like supporting people do that, because that's a tough teacher. Wolf teacher don't fuck around, and it's not recommended for the faint of heart. Like wolf medicine will fucking kill you if you do not follow the rules. That's just like a fact. Like don't go into that animism with like it's just any other thing. It's not any other thing. It's very serious. It's the oldest practiced form of spirituality on the planet. 100,000-year history. We have like history of animism predates even shamanism. Like it's very real shit. And it's like we have always projected ourselves into the things that we see around us, and the most conscious things we've seen around us have always been animals. And so we have like a tight-knit storyline with them, but they have always been considered teachers by native cultures, and they definitely have plenty that you can learn from them, you know. And so I mean it's a standard rite of passage in like mescaline culture that like you take a bunch of mescaline like in a native culture. Like if you want to actually be initiated into Native American mescalito shamanism, you take an enormous dose of peyote. And then you get stung by a fucking scorpion that if you didn't have all that mescaline running through your system, it would fucking kill you. And then you lay outside and deal with it. That's what you do. And when you start to come down, they give you more mescaline, and you do that for 3 days. And that is the standard Native American mescalito initiation rite. And like literally, like if you do not have that mescaline, you will fucking die. Your blood will stop pumping through your veins. But because of the amphetamine nature of the mescaline, that ain't gonna happen. So the mescaline literally saves you from certain death. And that's a lot of shamanic rite of realize like a lot of people like to be out there calling themselves a shaman, but if you haven't done an actual shamanic initiation rite, you're a fucking charlatan, because that shit is real deal, dude. It's not for the pussies out there. Like if you're worried about taking a threshold dose of some psychedelic and you're calling yourself a shaman, take that threshold dose and bury yourself underneath the ground for 3 fucking days and then get back to me. You know what I mean? Like it's not for the faint of heart, really. Like it's for people who fucking lost all care for their life in many ways, and they're trying to find it anywhere they can find it.
Right on.
Shamanism is a death rite, dude. Like much like being a monk. All these things are not about actually living. They're about understanding what it's like to be dead so that you can appreciate life. And most people are like, they're doing it for not any real reason. You know what I mean? It's like the terminology or whatever. Like, but like it's a very serious thing. Like, you know, I've spent a long time wanting to be a shaman, and when I got anywhere near it, I was like, fuck, man, I don't really actually want that identity. Like this shit is hardcore. But it was in certain ways it was like too late to go back. You know what I mean? Like, you know,
Pandora doesn't go back in the box, dude.
No, and in a certain way, like you always have this inside of you anyways. It's a choice of whether or not you decide to activate it. Right. But there is definitely like you can activate things inside of yourself, and the idea of then like deactivating them, that's not really going to work for you. You know what I mean? It does tap you into something that's like a different experience, and there's a lot of reasons why you like that experience and why you see benefit in that experience and value, and you're not going to give it up easy. You like it, you know, you want it. And like the people who are like truly called to that shit, like you definitely do not have a fucking choice. Like you start going down the line and you're going to keep fucking going down the line come hell or fucking high water. It doesn't matter what gets in the way. Yeah. When I tried to go down to fucking Peru, like I fucking, okay, I didn't have money even to go there, period. Like realistically from a normal person's stance. But like I bought like, you know, kind of pseudo last minute plane tickets anyways. And then like when I tried to leave the country, I wasn't going to be able to get my passport because I supposedly had back child support. So I had to take all the rest of the money that I had, go down and basically like completely vulnerably expose myself to my kid's mother and ask her to do me the solid of basically accepting this cash and signing this thing that said that like I'm free and clear so that I can get a passport so that I can get out of here. And when I'm leaving the United States, I'm like, okay, so when I come back, I don't have anywhere to live. I don't have any money. I don't have a job. And I'm going to go be in the fucking middle of the jungle for a little while. Like, this sounds like a good idea. You know what I mean? Like I had to, but you weren't going to fucking stop me from doing that. I'm like, it's fucking time. It's now or never, dude. Like we're doing it now. You know what I mean?
Actually sounds like the best way to pursue that. Actually, it sounds like
I didn't want to come back, and I didn't fucking come back. I left that dumb motherfucker in the jungle, and that's exactly where he needed to be. He's lucky to have died there because he could have just died sitting in the fucking Tri-Cities, and that would have sucked. He died there instead, and like that's great because he's in heaven now, dude. I got there, and it was everything I ever hoped it would be, and 1,000 times more. And that guy never wanted to leave. Somebody else wanted to leave, and that's who's here now, man. Like, and that's just like I went there to die. I told everybody when I went there, like, I'm like, what are you going to Peru for? Because I'm going to go in the jungle and die on purpose. That's what I'm going there for. You know, like that's what it's about. That's what it's for. They don't call it the Vine of the Dead because you're going down there to have a good time.
Yeah.
It's not about that. Ayahuasca don't give a fuck about your good time. It does not give a flying fuck about that. It doesn't even think about good or bad. Like whatever is operable inside of that, good or bad, it doesn't know anything about that. Shit just happens. You don't fucking care about that. That's like some low dimensional shit. Good or bad. Stuff happens. And then you see it ways. You know what I mean? And like you can learn so much about yourself, about like how you see whatever the fuck it is that's happening right now. You know, that the whole answer to your whole life is right in front of you all the time. The question is, can you like see the answer through the riddle? You know what I mean? And that's ayahuasca riddle central, dude. Like riddle fucking central. That's like why I like it so much. That's the whole reason why I like fucking super weird psychedelics. Okay, like I used to really like LSD and shit. It's not so much for me anymore. It's like logical, straightforward. I don't like that. I want some crazy ass fucking riddle that I have to unwind, because really, like, I like solving riddles more than I like psychedelics. You know what I mean? Really do.
Whatever gets you to the fucking finish line, bro.
I view my whole life as a riddle, and I fucking love it, dude. I love riddles. They're so cool, dude. Like, it's fucking amazing. You know? So, and that's like, there's different strokes for different folks. You know what I mean? That's why I say, like, not everybody should, like, go down that path, you know, but some people should. You know? Yeah. It's
how the fuck that you just orchestrated everything to get the fucking airfare and then the money to also fucking pay off the blueberry pie at the same time to fucking even get down there. That in itself right there is like tip of the cap, sir. Like fucking.
I mean, I would have sold all my shit if that's what it would have taken.
I mean, yeah,
I just happened to be able to take care of it with every single dime that I had on hand. But that's basically what I did. Like, I paid for all this stuff to go down there. I set aside the money that I would need for like food, and I took every single other dollar that I could get my hand on so that I could show up to her with a large pile of cash, because that was much more likely that she would say, yeah, I'll sign that thing. You know, and I got one of the greatest rewards of my life, because this motherfucker, the deputy prosecutor of Benton County, Tim Skills, this motherfucker used to talk so much, she tried to throw me in jail like several times. And when I went in there with Miranda, with my fucking shit that like had her sign saying that I was free and clear of everything, this motherfucker was standing in the DSHS office, and I got to look in his eyes as I was like, never got me, bitch. Never got me, motherfucker. I win. I win. I told you I would win. You thought I would lose. You were wrong. I win. This is me winning. Have a nice day, friend. Like, awesome. It was wonderful.
Yeah. And, awesome.
And like, dude, everybody should go to Peru, not for ayahuasca. What a fucking cool country. What a cool country, man. It's amazing. Not for jungles and drugs and weird shit like that. Literally for like ancient sites, the fucking local customs, culture. The food is fucking amazing. Like, it's the best lunch spot in the world. Lunch is their primary meal, but because it's their primary meal, it's the one that they charge the cheapest for, and it's fucking delicious.
Wow.
Like, I ate lunch every single day in Peru for fucking like $3, and it was like the best meals I've had in my life.
Awesome.
Like, every single lunch. It's great. Like, everything about the place is awesome. Like, it's got everything about it is awesome. I didn't realize that people were so nice on this planet, but they are. You're just in the wrong place, maybe. You know what I mean?
Yep, 100%.
It literally just being in Peru like changed my life. Like, I used to walk by people and never wave to them, never smile at them, never say hi or anything. I fucking wave, say hi to, and smile at every single person I walk by now, ever since I came back from that motherfucker. Because I realized, like, walking down the streets of Cusco, that like, damn, these people make me feel good. Like, just because they look at me and they're like, what up? And they smile at me, and like, we like share this little moment, and it makes me feel good, and it makes me feel even better that it just like keeps happening over and over and over and over and over again. So like, if everybody did this would be great. But if I'm not doing it, sure as fuck ain't everybody doing it, because I would be there and I wouldn't be doing it, you know? So I just like came back and I was like, I do that from now on. You know what I mean? Now I'm like way nicer to every single person that like I do business interaction with. Like, I'm super nice to any clerk at a store or whatever. I used to be very dismissive of them. I'm like, it's like it being in Peru itself did so much to benefit my life. You know, not any of this other like shamanic shit. That was like a whole nother thing.
That total attack, like you were just released from like the prisons, if you were, like, you know, responsibilities. Like, you cleared all that, and you just got to go down there and experience what you did, how you did, and that's what's up, man. That's fucking epic. That's good shit.
I highly recommend someone at some point in your life, you go to a country where you do not speak the language, because it will shift the way that you engage with your reality to one where like you want to be more dependent on the things around you. You want to form good relations, and you're looking for like every opportunity to do that because you don't have such a good interface device. And like, it's very beneficial to feel like the stupid guy.
Fucking, you know what I mean? Costa Rica or whatever. He said he can't take on a new language or whatever because of all the fucking crazy knowledge that he's, you know what I'm saying? He talked about that, like how that experience has changed him. Like, I just don't speak the fucking language. He's been down there 10 years already.
Yeah.
Like,
I speak a part of Spanish and I don't speak all of Spanish, and it's like really hard for me to gain more. I kind of like understand where he's coming from with that. Like it's, I don't know. Yeah. It's good though. Like it's a humbling experience. I mean, like I'm pretty fucking full of myself. That's like been one of my biggest problems in my whole life. I'm pretty full of myself. So like it was a very liberating experience for me to be there, and I'm like, fuck man, I gotta spend like 5 minutes figuring out how to ask this dude what I want to know. You know what I mean? And if I don't figure it out, he's just gonna be like, I don't understand what you're saying, dude. Like, I can't help you, no matter how much he wants to help. And it was great. Like, that was so wonderful. I'm fucking 100% going again, just like not even for the jungle. There's like a lifetime of fucking ancient ruins to explore in Peru. Like there's a lifetime of uncharted ancient ruins to explore in Peru. Realistically, like it's crazy how much culture is there. Like, dude, America is such a young country. And when you go to a place like that, like even just walking down the streets of Cusco, there's a bunch of places where you can tell that it's like there was a culture, and then a culture built on top of it, and then a culture built on top of it, and now there's the culture that you're experiencing right now. But you can like literally see the layers of like 4 different cultures walking down the same street. Like it's very different. And then you come to realize like, wow, America is young, dude, and it's like really fucking uncultured. Actually, it has no like depth to what it does. You know, it's the maximum depth is only like 250 years, and that's pretty shallow.
Yeah.
In comparison to some other things, you know what I mean? And especially with like the way that we treat like, well, the indigenous cultures of the Americas, especially North America, we kind of like we built on top of their culture, but we really like put a nice fucking concrete foundation over it, and you can't find that shit underneath it, basically. You know what I mean? That's not how it went down in Peru. Like they just basically like put stuff on top of it. Like you can still see it right there. It's still living and alive and shit. You know what I mean? There's people that literally like they speak the Aztec language, and they have this mixture of like Spanish and the Aztec language. And if you don't understand both of those languages, some of their words, you're like, wait, what? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, Billy Carson was saying like Thoth was like the son of, I can't remember all the fucking begats and stuff, but he dipped out to the other, to like Central America or like down south, and like, so you're talking about there's uncharted or unfucking like ruins and stuff that's supposedly like that same architect or technology and mindset was just plopped over into that area as well, you know, and started there too. Like that was basically his mission, was to jumpstart fucking society and shit like that. Like, so
yeah, that washes basically in a certain way with their creation story, because their creation story all talks about basically a guy who rose out of the ocean, and then he had basically, well, really had 3 assistants with him, but one of them wanted to do his own rogue thing, so he fucking killed him and sent him back in the ocean. But that's then the other 2, they like one went high, one went low, and then one walked down basically the center, and the center was Viracocha, who is like the creator being. And so you have this situation that Viracocha's emergence from the sea and, you know, then propagation through Peru is really doing this like thrice blessed thing, right? Like it's a function of the Trismegistus, because there's like 3 versions of itself that's operable at the same time that like diverge and then converge. And inside of that, they encapsulate the whole of a culture. You know what I mean? And that's functionally their creation story. And that's directly in line with the whole Hermetic line of thinking about things. And it should also be noted that like inside of their culture, they very much so believe in snakes, and the whole idea of like the, you know, the standard staff that you see with this. You got the 2 serpents coiling around each other. It's like, dude, this is balls deep inside of their culture. I mean, like it's been there since before the beginning as far as they're concerned. You know, they're like very much so the cosmic serpent mentality, where like, why is the earth spin? Well, because there's a giant snake around it. Like that's why. That's the reason. Functionally, that's the reason. And like if you dig through their story, like it really actually makes sense, and it's not as crazy as maybe it might seem on the surface, that like there's a giant snake that's causing the earth to spin.
Well, that's just like the
the cosmic turtle, right? Are you?
The ley lines of
the
planet, like that's the body of the snake. It comes out in like those certain spots, those hot spots across the planet. Like, yeah.
Central America, dude, like that. If you're not having fun in your life right now and you want to do something super crazy, realize dude, the amount of uncharted ruins in Central and Northern South America, like Central America, Northern South America.
Fantastic to me, but we probably couldn't fucking leave because of the situation.
There's so many. Those countries fucking, they let anybody in. Down near anybody in. I guess actually Peru's kind of like locked down about this in certain ways, but there's definitely still people getting in there and doing their thing. But like there's so much shit there that we just have never discovered that over the last like 10 years we've found with like ground penetrating radar and shit like that. That's awesome. It's like there was a megalopolis stretching from basically Mexico City to like northern Bolivia at least. Like it was probably like basically fucking city from there to there. It's fucking crazy, honestly, like how much there must have been there. Realize we haven't actually ever even set foot in what is to be perceived as the Mayan capital. Like there's a whole legend about where it is that basically tells the pathway to get to it from Machu Picchu. Many have tried to reach it, all have failed. But there are consistent signs along the way that make it seem as though the legend is in fact accurate directions. It's just so deep into the jungle that no one can make it.
There were a couple flicks made about that. Like, yeah, those were fucking heavy shit. That was crazy stuff too, man. Yeah.
It's crazy to think that there is like a fucking world-shifting culture that existed not really far from where we live, but definitely on the same planet and influenced the whole planet in many ways. And we have no idea where their primary actual center at the time of their demise was. Right. We've never found that.
And they kind of disappeared also, like and knew more about time and the fucking stars and all that kind of stuff.
Where'd they go?
We do fucking right now too. Like that's
for all we know, they're still fucking hanging out at their capital in the middle of the fucking jungle, and we don't have any idea that they're there.
Well, apparently, what's his name? Corey Good said they're on fucking spaceships and they're up there right now. Fucking like that's how they all disappeared. They're fucking like using the tech, fucking up there, fucking. And I mean, this is what I heard from him like a few years ago. I haven't heard.
Seems like a long shot, but I don't know where the fuck they went. Maybe they are. You know what I mean? I don't fucking know.
I mean,
things generally don't just fucking disappear.
I mean, their calendars alone are more accurate, I think, than our shit is now.
You said things don't just disappear. I've been looking for a briefing conversation to disappear because I gotta go before midnight. There's still it's 11:11. That's good timing. I still gotta check some boilers here before midnight and get some work stuff done. So I'm gonna have to bounce. Yeah.
I have to go. Also, it's 2:11.
All right.
It's
2:11 and 2:11.
Well, you guys have a wonderful night.
Shit to do tomorrow.
Speaking of shamanic shit. Well, I appreciate you guys, Arya. It's really good to see you again, Arya.
Yeah, it's good to see all of you.
Yeah.
All right, Aaron, Arya, the two A's. You know.
Yeah, Aaron. Arya.
We're getting out of here in alphabetical order. That means Kevin has to leave before me.
I'm getting go right back into the music. Then this is fucking awesome. So.
All right, guys. Well, I mean, I guess we could just call right here if you want to get back on music. I got all kinds of other stuff that I could do too, and we'll be back.
Gotta get the shit to Frank, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, we'll probably be back Monday. If people want to come around and we got a good conversation to have, we'll be back. And if people want to watch it, we'd love to have you here. If you want to come on the show, as you can see, we just randomly opine about shit. So if you got shit you want to randomly opine about, maybe you want to come on the show, you want to do it too. That's fine too. We all about having a good time around here. So. Nevertheless, have a wonderful night. Thanks for coming to Expand Understanding. Aaron, Arya, Kevin, you're all wonderful individuals, and thank you for being a part of my life. You certainly enhance my experience, and I deeply appreciate and have gratitude for you individuals for doing that. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Same to you.
And all of you viewers, same to you. You guys have a wonderful night.